We are live. This is Comics and Culture. And am I muted?
No,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah, sometimes these headphones are weird, man. But
yeah,
we are live. We're here to talk about the Superman trailer and other nerdy things.
And just hanging out. We originally had plans for a different show, but well, let's just say things didn't quite work out that way. So that show's going to be scheduled for next week. So you guys are going to get some back-to-back Comics and Culture.
Yeah, we haven't done more than one a month in a couple of years. A year?
Yeah. It feels like we kind of did one more recently, maybe towards the beginning of the year, where we had a show and then we did another show. I don't know. It's hard to keep it all in order.
Yeah, it is.
but yeah, either way, I'm happy to be here. Yeah. I'm always happy to chat with you about stuff. And, there's some interesting comic book movie related stuff to chat about.
Definitely. Do you want to start off talking about Fantastic Four First Steps, the trailer?
I actually only watched that trailer like once, and then I watched other people's sort of reactions to it.
Yeah.
And, my whole thing going into this was, I hope it's good. Mm-hmm. And then I saw the trailer and I started seeing some red flags. Shala Ball, the female Silver Surfer, was immediately one of them. And, seeing Pedro Pascal cosplaying as Mr. Fantastic and being like, I don't know if we can save you guys. And Sue is giving him the pep talk. It's just like, this is so opposite, because even in the Godzilla, the Fantastic Four versus Godzilla comic that I read recently, you see Mr. Fantastic he's taking charge of things. He's like, we got to do this. Even if it costs my life, I'm going to do this.
That's Reed Richards. That's what he does,
yeah.
Right? I mean,
that is who Reed Richards is. He is a leader and he takes charge. He can be cold and maybe a little distant, but he loves his family.
Yeah.
And that was ever so apparent in a comic like that. I didn't see any of that, honestly, in the trailer.
I didn't either. And
no.
Sue, she's the one that basically said, we'll protect you. Mm-hmm. And not that is a huge deal, but
no,
I mean, it's still something that Reed would have typically said, right?
It's pattern recognition that we've seen from the other Marvel movies.
Yeah.
There's just one scene in particular that encapsulates kind of like this whole problem. And it's the scene in The Marvels where there's the fight that breaks out in Kamala Khan's house, and her mom and her dad are kind of like in the middle of the scuffle. The dad falls over and her mom falls over to cover him.
Wow.
It's like, and I know it's just a quick scene. It's just kind of almost like a blink and you'll miss it. But you see that and it's just like, that should be the other way around. The husband should be there protecting his wife. Now that the wife can't fight back, but it's a topsy-turvy kind of way of presenting family dynamics.
Sure. And I'll be honest, I couldn't even really finish The Marvels. I think I got like 30 minutes in and I was like, no.
I didn't watch it. I man, you're a braver man than I am. I didn't watch it. I only saw that one little clip of like, the the Marvels and their powers kind of going all wishy-washy and all that stuff, and they're switching places. But I remember that clear as day. In fact, I kind of want to see if I can find that real quick. And then, I mean, we don't have to watch this on screen, but if we do, we'll watch it with the sound off.
Sure.
But I really want to try and and find this for you, just so you can see, yep, here's this pattern recognition. It's the women taking charge, just like in Wakanda Forever, just like in Echo, just like all of these things. So,
and it's a shame though, because I really like what's her name, Iman Vellani.
Yeah, she seems like a great person.
She seems to know way more about Marvel than anybody working for Marvel. So
yeah,
she needs to be behind the camera. Not saying that she is not a good actor, but I like her and I want her to succeed. But man, she has her character is just not good.
No, not at all. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can find this for you. Like obviously they're switching places all around here. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay, wow, it's actually right at the beginning. So let me make this bigger. And like I said, I'll play this with the sound off.
Okay.
So, we don't get any I mean, who knows? Disney will probably be like, what are you doing? Are you watching our stuff?
Right. How dare you have a different opinion?
Yeah. How dare you react to something? That's illegal.
Although, they have typically been better than, I guess, what DC or Warner Brothers has been with this recent Superman trailer.
Yeah, I've heard some of that. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna watch this with the sound off, and you're gonna
look at her eyes.
Oh, well, and that's just that says more like, oh my god, I gotta protect these people, more so than like, oh, what is happening to me?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's play this, and you'll see this. You'll see Kamala Khan's mom fall over her dad to protect him. Okay, there she throws something. Look, he falls down, and look at that.
Wow.
It's just a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. And it's just like, no, that should be the other way around.
Well, especially in that, how do you want to word it? Like not nationality.
Context? Oh, ethnicity?
Well, ethnicity, yeah. I mean, it's usually, men way over women.
Look, just look at the expression on this. He's like, please, wife, protect me.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, that tracks. That tracks.
And it's the same thing with Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
What did Terrence call it? Fantastic Four agenda or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. And it's really sad because although I liked the two movies with Jessica Alba, a lot of people don't. And so I guess if you look at it as a whole, the Fantastic Four have not had a good movie that everybody loves. So
no, it wasn't something, like you said, that was kind of universally loved, and like it sort of like it hit the narrative out of the park in the same way that Iron Man did, or Batman Begins did, if you want to go with DC. The Tim Story Fantastic Four movies were just kind of seen as just sort of like, I don't want to say shallow entertainment, but there wasn't a whole lot of depth to it.
No, not really. No. But I mean, that was pretty typical for Fox, though, at the time.
Yeah, they weren't really like trying their best, which is kind of sad because that movie came on the heels of like X-Men 2.
Right.
And X-Men 2 did a great job, despite who was behind the camera and all that. You had great actors and Hugh Jackman and Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart.
Yep.
And everyone just they did very well. And then everything fell apart because Bryan Singer went on to direct Superman Returns, which didn't work. And then you had, I forgot the name of the director who came in to direct X-Men 3.
Oh, yeah.
It was the same guy who actually directed the Rush Hour movies, which is like, why would you get that guy of all people?
Yeah, that's a good point. But
yeah,
I think the biggest blunder there is Superman Returns. I just don't like, at the time I was excited, like, oh cool, you're going to tie this into the Christopher Reeve films. Okay. You know, I like that. That's a good Superman, but it just it did not work at all.
No, narratively, it didn't. And it didn't help that there was no villain to fight either. It's just Superman lifting rocks and lifting things and lifting cars.
Yeah.
And
taking a bullet to the eye, you know.
Yeah, which admittedly, okay, that is visually a very interesting concept, because you think, oh, well, maybe he's got like a weak spot. So, you know, you go for something more sensitive like the eyeball. But, you know, besides that, I liked the plane rescue scene. And then I kind of feel like the movie sort of falls apart after that, because Brandon Routh had no chemistry with Kate Bosworth at all. She seemed more annoyed. I'm talking about narratively speaking. She seemed more annoyed that Superman came back than, you know, like, oh my God, he's the father of my child. How do I deal with this situation? You know, some anger is understandable, but you know, there's kind of like nothing connective there afterwards. So
yeah. So how do you compare Superman Returns with Man of Steel?
I think they're kind of opposite sides of sort of the same problem. First of all, before I continue, Nick Gamer, hello. Thank you for stopping by on my channel. But yeah, like opposite sides of the same problem. Whereas Superman Returns had no villain, really. Man of Steel had an abundance of action and what later came to be described as destruction porn, because it's just like it's buildings and it's explosions and, you know, just this, that, and the other thing, and then, you know, like the quick zoom ins as well. That would happen, and it's just like, okay, these are visually interesting ideas, but there's not much substance here, and Zack Snyder doesn't understand the character of Superman. You can't have Superman be brooding and lost and you know, just not full of hope and just being purely like reactionary.
And you know, I mean, David S. Goyer, I mean, he's done good writing in the past. He's written decent films in the past, but man.
Yeah, but you know, like that wasn't really his wheelhouse. He was used to writing stuff like Blade and like, you know, more darker material. And obviously Warner Brothers wanted at the time, I guess, to kind of coast off of Christopher Nolan's success with the Dark Knight trilogy. And they tried to make him essentially their Kevin Feige, but yeah, he just, I love Nolan, but I don't think he was the right person to helm what became known as the DCEU.
No.
Yeah. Or definitely Snyder, not. You know, for that instance. Snyder is all about visuals and no substance at all. You know,
absolutely.
He's essentially like eye candy. So,
and I'm looking at David S. Goyer's Wikipedia here, and the fact I didn't know that he wrote Batman versus Superman, so that's even worse than Man of Steel.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he also wrote the Dark Knight trilogy, which was a good trilogy, but that's not my favorite interpretation of Batman either.
No, it's not a lot. Yeah, it's not a lot of people's favorite. Some people prefer the comics. Some people really enjoy Batman the animated series.
Yeah.
Some people also really enjoy, Batman 89. Batman 89 is really good. It's very enjoyable and rewatchable.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Also, hey, Riot, welcome. Thank you for stopping in. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, I mean, what did you think of the new Superman trailer?
Well, let's go ahead and bring it up. Yeah, we're not gonna. I'm not even gonna play it. I'm just gonna bring up like an image of the trailer. Just so that we sort of have something to talk against while we're talking about it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So Superman. Let me mute. Okay. That's muted.
Twitter has definitely been opinionated since the trailer dropped.
Who has been?
Twitter or X.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's see. What's a good image? Oh, okay. Yeah, this is my favorite imagery right here. This was also in like the teaser trailer too. Share screen, Superman. I love that part there. That is quintessentially who Superman is.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Will put his whole body, mind, and soul in the way to protect others, and I love that.
It's a great
okay. Shot. So thoughts about the trailer. My initial reaction was I loved it so very much. At the beginning where like he switches from Clark Kent mode to Superman mode, doing the
lean forward.
Yeah, the lean forward and talking to Lois. I thought that all was great. I loved how it kind of devolved from sort of this very professional sounding interview talking about Superman's actions and questioning them to really a fight between a couple afterwards, because like he's not angry at her, but he's like frustrated that everyone is misconstruing his actions.
Mm-hmm.
But Lois is rightly pointing out like, hey, you do kind of stand as a representative of this particular country. Like you were raised in this country, so people will see your actions as being representative of a national interest.
Yeah.
And Clark is just kind of like, but I'm not. I'm just being me. This is what I can do. I'm trying to save people from dying. And I just that really, really humanized Superman's character, for me personally, a lot more than like the brooding kind of aggravated and annoyed and darker Superman that Henry Cavill's character was given direction for.
Sure.
And I like Cavill. I think he looked like the character. He inhabited the character, the physicality, the everything. It wasn't good direction from Snyder. And I know the Snyder Bros are gonna want my blood after saying something like that. I also thought the way Lex was presented was very good.
Mm-hmm.
He's very jealous and very angry at Superman's existence of just being there. I honestly need to watch the trailer again just to kind of like remember word for word what he said. But there were aspects of his acting that reminded me of Michael Rosenbaum a little bit. A little bit of Gene Hackman as well. And thankfully, none of Jesse Eisenberg.
Right. Oh, my God.
Woo! Riot is saying, I'm intrigued how all these seemingly random scenes connect in a singular movie. Yeah, like how everything will connect and form the narrative. Like this whole thing could still completely fall apart at a certain point. And then she says, Cavill Superman made 3 expressions throughout the DCEU, which is so sad because Cavill is he's capable of so much more. Like when I first saw him in The Count of Monte Cristo, that's the first movie I saw him in. I was like, wow, he really looks like a young Clark Kent. You just put glasses on him, and this was like 2005 3, I think, when that movie came out. And I was like, yeah, he could be Superman. And
right.
And he auditioned for Superman Returns. He didn't get it. Brandon Routh did, who I thought was, a good continuation of Christopher Reeve's Christopher Reeve Superman. I don't want to make the mistake that a lot of people have made by calling him Reeves.
I can't believe people still make that mistake like this many years later. But
yeah, sometimes I don't think it's intentional. I think they're trying to say, like Reeve, like apostrophe S, so it comes across as Reeves, like that. But I think a lot of people just do sort of say Reeves and just kind of leave it at that. Yeah, exactly. Death Angels, George Reeves, Christopher Reeve. Okay, this kind of goes against Christopher, but it doesn't help that he has an extremely similar last name.
I mean, that is true.
Yeah,
that is true. And it did confuse me as a kid, but I got over it.
Yep. Let's see. Death Angels also said, I think that's a great observation on Lex. I had the same take. Yeah, a little bit of Michael Rosenbaum, a little bit of Gene Hackman, and whatever else that James Gunn is directing this character to have. Also, hi, Tate. Thanks for dropping in. Appreciate you guys dropping by.
I think Lex had a little bit of the animated series swag, too.
Uh-huh. And it's so funny because I thought that Lex Luthor was black because he had like tanned skin. So I was like, dang, all right, this is different. And then later on, I find out that, oh, no. Not that this is important and it doesn't take away anything. It was just an assumption that I made as a young child. Animated series Lex Luthor is still probably my favorite Lex Luthor. And with Michael Rosenbaum being my favorite live action Lex Luthor.
Same. Yeah.
And Death Angel says, and I love Smallville. So, yeah.
Same. Me too.
And Riot says, Superman is a man with godlike powers raised as an ordinary man. This movie appears to be portraying that a lot more. It's less like the DCEU, I guess, tried to present Superman as a god walking amongst men, whereas this is more like Lois and Clark, Dean Cain Superman, where he's like, Clark is who I am, Superman is what I can do.
Right.
And that's honestly been my favorite interpretation of the character. And again, this whole thing can fall apart because there's been rumors, which I don't believe yet. And we just don't know how all of this is going to fit together. But I came away from this trailer smiling because I felt like James Gunn gets it. Now, whether he overstuffs this movie, which it kind of sort of seems like that's happening, remains to be seen. But otherwise, I'm positive about it right now.
Yeah, I would say that I am very similar to you in regard to the trailer. And I think if we were going to get those, how did the rumor talk about the monkeys, on the computers, like doing the social media smear campaign, whatever that was about. But I think this trailer set up that the thing that he's going to be battling against, besides the villains, is the fact that he's crossing into these different countries, and it's going to be more of a political type thing,
kind of angle,
which is smart. Yeah, I mean that makes sense because, especially in 2025, it's like depending on the country, if you go into their airspace, it's going to be a big deal, regardless if you're superpowered or not.
He's seen. This is just my opinion so far. This, Superman is just is seeing these as like these places that need help, regardless of national boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking he's seeing it from like the global perspective of just like, this is Earth, these are people, they're human beings, no matter where they are, they're all human and they all need help, and I can do that. But because all of these countries have their own self-interests, which sometimes that interest isn't in favor of helping people, he's gonna butt heads with all of these other, international figures. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Mads Mama Bear's here.
Hey, Mads, it's been a while. How you doing?
I see her on Twitter all the time, but yeah. This is cool. So she says, turns out the monkeys are true, sort of. They aren't mutant monkeys. It's a bunch of gleeks. Well, I don't know.
We'll see. We don't know yet.
I don't. Yeah. I mean, if that is true, we haven't seen it yet, but I think it's going to be more of, like I said, I think it's going to be more of a political thing, because if they do lean into the monkeys, it's ridiculous, like the Silver Age, well, some of the Silver Age, but it would be stupid to do in the first movie that you're coming out the gate with, trying to bring back DC. I think that's a horrible approach. And hopefully, if the rumors are somewhat true, James is still editing the film. So, if it's true, I mean, he's obviously seen the backlash, well, social media backlash against that idea, and if it's true, and if he can edit that out, that would be good. Because
sorry, Sean, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, go. I was just going to say that it's like they have to come out swinging on this. They don't have any wiggle room. So
no. And yes, I do remember Gleek from like the Wonder Twins and all that.
Yeah, it was from the Super Friends. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, hopefully it's not another Jar Jar Binks kind of situation.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've thought of Gleek. I don't remember the context for him. I just remember him being in Super Friends.
I thought he was the friend of like the Wonder Twins. Their powers.
Okay.
Rings. Yeah.
I think that is actually. Yeah. But he wasn't, like, I don't see how that angle fits with Lex though. Like, I mean, I understand like Gleeks is just like a general term, like it's going to be these weird, monkeys and stuff, but
yeah,
they absolutely don't need to go that way. That would be horrible.
I agree. Death Angel says, what do you think of the notion that Kal-El is who he is? Clark is who he's pretending to be. Also, Clark is how he perceives us. Now, that's kind of more classic Christopher Reeve Superman, where he was more Kal-El, kind of, that was who he was, and Clark was who was the bumbling kind of guy, how he perceived humanity and all that stuff, which was also excellently brought up in Kill Bill.
Man, I haven't seen those movies in forever.
Yeah, good movies, but you have to be in kind of a mood to sort of like to see those.
Yeah, you definitely do.
That interpretation can work. I think it's just that's kind of how, and it wasn't successful. That's sort of like how Snyder tried to do Superman as, the god walking amongst men. And the problem was that in the scenes when he was Clark, he really didn't act all that different from Superman. Like, he spoke in the same kind of straightforward kind of voice and all of that. Like, he didn't put on the act of being, like a klutz and always knocking things down and pretending to be very weak. So
in the Snyder films?
In the Snyder films.
He didn't even have a secret identity until the end of Man of Steel, and I thought that was stupid.
Yeah, So it can work. Christopher Reeve pulled it off very well. He is the quintessential live action Superman.
Yeah.
But someone else would have to attempt it, and then that I would form more of an opinion on that.
I agree.
Mad says, or Mama Bear Doll says, the group I stream with on Mondays has a Hollywood guy. That's straight from him. Oh, okay. So you have kind of a source.
Well, I mean, I get that, but
we have to see the movie.
Yeah. Well, I just like in the beginning, you remember when the DCU was launching, and I know this is anybody can say this, but James Gunn said something to the extent of "Don't believe anything unless it's confirmed by me or Peter Safran."
Yeah.
And I really want to believe that, and I could be let down. We could all be let down, but
it's true.
Man, I can't imagine anybody being that stupid. Like, right now, like,
you're trying to launch your universe. You don't want to have anything like that silly sort of injected into it. And like, I understand James Gunn is a master at getting people to care about CGI animal characters, because he did that with the Guardians movies. So like I said, I will see the movie and then I will pass judgment. And if it's there and it's stupid, then I will see so. But
Same.
If it's not there, then I guess we would have dodged a bullet.
But even if they do have these ridiculous scenes in it, I still think it could be a better Superman film than Man of Steel.
I think so. I'm more optimistic about this movie than Man of Steel, because when I saw Man of Steel, the first trailer with all of its like muted colors and its dreary, kind of tone, I was just like, I don't quite get what you're trying to do here, but I'll watch it and I'll give it a chance. And then 10 years later, I watched it and gave it a chance. And, the conclusion I came to is it's not Superman, but it's a good alien invasion movie.
Sure. I agree with that. I think Henry Cavill could have been a really, really good Superman. I think he could have rivaled Christopher Reeve. It's just David S. Goyer wrote a really bad Superman, and even worse for Batman versus Superman. I mean, the scene where he's in the courthouse and like it's all on fire and he's just standing there.
It's just like, oh well. Jeez. The Stranger, welcome on X. Appreciate you being here. Riot says, I'd say no Death Angels. Kal-El was who he was on Krypton. Clark Kent was who he was on Earth, raised by the Kents. And Superman is who he becomes for the greater good. Death Angel says, I'm not one of those naysayers that thinks it'll suck. I really hope it turns out good. And Crypto.
Yeah.
Like, Crypto's honestly growing on me. Like, the first time I saw it, I was like, this could, I don't know. I didn't know, but honestly, I think it's growing on me a little as I see it more.
Crypto has a potential to be really good because I am a dog lover. But so on the short teaser trailer that we got first, like that interaction when Superman falls out of the sky and Crypto's bouncing on him and stuff like that. That one was okay, but the extended teaser trailer where it was way more of the bouncing on him and Superman like screaming in pain and stuff like that, I was like, that is a little too much. And
a little too much,
if they make Crypto talk in this movie like he does in the comics, that's going to be, I think, a little too much too. That's going to
Matt says, they put a kaiju in this movie. I believe the Gleeks, and I make no secret that I have no faith in this movie. Well, that is a fair opinion.
Sure. But you also want to restore the Snyderverse, to be fair, Matt.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying you prefer that universe. So that is a little bit of a bias. that you have. And so,
and yeah, Sean and I mean, we have a bias too, you know. Let's not pretend that we don't, but it's in the other direction. It's I do not like the Snyderverse. I hated that interpretation of Superman, and I read what Zack Snyder was going to do if he allowed his Justice League to continue, and I was just like, oh no, F this. I am glad that guy is gone directing his crappy Star Wars movies. So
well, I saw I think it was Joe Rogan. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast before, I think it was just before Rebel Moon, the first part, hit Netflix. And he was talking about, I think you guys have probably all seen the clips where he's talking about the characters. And he was so out of touch with what the DC characters are in that interview. And I was like, wow, you know, nothing against Zach, but good riddance. I'm glad that you're not doing these movies anymore. And
honestly, the only thing I kind of wish that had happened out of all of that is Ben Affleck getting to direct his Batman movie. I really wish that had happened, because that was the only scene in Batman v Superman that I liked.
I think Ben's Batman would have probably been really, really good.
Yeah, because I hated his casting at first. I was like, no, why? And you know, to an extent, he did turn around my opinion. You know, once I finally saw him, but I just think that Zack Snyder would have been better off just directing a Batman movie instead of directing Superman, because he does not understand Superman's character at all.
Yeah, but I mean, I think if he would have had a capable script, that would have helped quite a bit. Although you could reverse those and say, if the script was bad and the director actually had a working idea of what Superman was, you could go back to the writer and be like, no, this isn't really working for what the character is. But I don't know.
Yep. Let's see. Right, says the only thing I don't like right now about this movie is that Nathan Fillion is not playing Hal Jordan. So far, so fine. My dad is interested too, so we'll go see it together. Cool. And I honestly agree. I wanted him to be Hal Jordan. He could have been like an older, seasoned Hal Jordan, and I think everyone would have loved that.
But I do like the scene in this trailer where Guy Gardner he's not even looking, he just like flips his wrist and because the thing that you have to understand about lanterns is that the really powerful ones you don't need to see things coming from the ring.
No.
There are multiple examples in the comic books where you don't release it. All you see is maybe the ring light up, but you don't see anything coming from the ring.
Yeah.
So
that's true. There's so many ways they can show off the Green Lantern powers. So
absolutely. And I think it's a bad idea doing the Lantern series. It does not look good right now. I'm not interested in seeing depowered Green Lanterns on Earth.
I know. It's like it's like the idea of like doing all of like these Batman shows without Batman.
Right.
It's like, I don't think any of them worked all that well. Gotham was on for like, what about
6 years, I think. 7 years, something like that.
Wow.
Maybe 5.
I did not like, I gave it a chance, but it was too CW for me. So I was just like, no, like the worst qualities of CW.
Wow. I actually liked Gotham. I thought it was pretty. Aside from Fish Mooney, I hated that character.
Yeah, and that was the reason why I couldn't continue, because it was Jada Pinkett Smith, trying to act all tough, and I'm just like, I can't suspend my disbelief that far. Maybe if it was Queen Latifah and she wasn't doing that other series that she was doing, maybe I could buy into that, but no.
Sure. Yeah, it was just not a good idea. But
let's see. So continuing on, Matt says, I would like Snyder to be allowed to finish his story.
That's fair.
I'm not going to say anything. The Batman father thing got scrapped. I wish I could believe you, but after seeing Rebel Moon, I don't believe a word Zack Snyder says. I lost all faith in him as a filmmaker after that. Death Angel says, I'm Batfleck. Well, I mean, at least the scenes were good, but Ben Affleck had personal problems going on at the time, and that's why he couldn't continue. And that's sad. Like, regardless of my feelings about the Snyderverse, I think that's very unfortunate. And that's the one thing that I wish honestly would have continued.
The script that Ben wrote was probably better than the Batman, to be honest.
Probably. You know, you're right. You were probably right. Riot says, what's even crazier is that they are doing an older seasoned Hal Jordan in the Lantern show, so that totally could have happened.
That's true. Although, if John Stewart exists, you know, Hal does have to be of a certain age.
Yeah. Has Hal Jordan been cast?
Yeah, he's in the image. That was shared. It was Hal Jordan and John Stewart.
Oh, okay. I
forget the actor's name though. Let me look it up.
Yeah, because I don't yeah. I don't know who that actor is.
Let's see. Hal Jordan.
All right, now here's where we can agree, Mads. I'm more interested in the Lantern series, hesitant that it's Earthbound. Yes.
Me too.
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, you could have set that anywhere on a different planet, maybe with, you know, humanoid people to like save on the budget a bit. But being stuck on Earth, it's like, come on, of all places, why?
I know. The actor playing Hal is Kyle Chandler.
Kyle Chandler. Oh, he was in I think he's in like the Monsterverse movies, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if this is who I'm thinking of. Kyle Chandler. Yeah, he was. He played oh my god, he played what's her name's father. She was in Stranger Things.
Oh, Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown. He played her father in the Monsterverse movies, just for 2 of them because those characters weren't in Godzilla X Kong.
You would have to make the connection with the Monsterverse movie.
I started this stream out connecting Marvel with Godzilla. It's like, come on, man. You should know who I am by now.
Yeah, but the thing about the Green Lanterns is that they can have their own cinematic universe.
They could.
The Green Lanterns are like that expansive. The story is that in depth and rich.
They are essentially. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say I hate that it's being just located on HBO Max and with an HBO Max budget.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that too in a moment. But yeah, I was gonna say the Green Lanterns are essentially the cosmic aspect of the DC universe, just like the Guardians of the Galaxy was like for Marvel and all of those characters. That's who, you know, the Green Lanterns are, because they go to all of these different planets and they're essentially like space cops. So you have all of this canvas essentially to paint on, and yet you kind of just paint on this one little square, you know, to tell this side story.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
I'm being attacked by a Bassetown.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, he needs your attention.
He's very ridiculous, yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Mama Bear says, okay, I read that already. And then Death Angel says, I come from a non-comic reader perspective. Not sure you could call exactly me a normie, but I had at most a half dozen individual comics as a kid. And then he says, wow, I mangled that sentence. Well, the way we think doesn't always translate well to like written speech. So it's all right. I was able to pick up what you were putting down. Mama Bear says, everyone hated Fish Mooney. Victor Zsasz was amazing.
Yeah, and the actor who played Victor Zsasz is Metamorpho in Superman.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go. Hey, at least he continues to get work.
Actually, I read the very first introduction of Metamorpho the other day from 1965, I think.
Oh, wow.
It was Brave and the Bold. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
You know, again, a lot of my introductions to these characters came through the cartoons that I watched because I was not a comic book reader growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I saw Metamorpho was in Justice League. And I thought, wow, this is an interesting character. He looks kind of weird with all of his like different colored limbs and all that stuff, but his powers are great.
His origin is actually still very similar to what it was in the Justice League cartoon. It's just maybe altered just a little bit because the comic book involved he had to go to Egypt and retrieve I think it was called the Orb of Ra. And so he got locked into or sealed into the pyramid, and there was an asteroid or a comet, or I forget what it was in the comics, and that's what the chunk of Orb of Ra came from. And so he got sealed in there, but he was also given like something that you could ingest. I forget do you remember the father of Sapphire? I forget, like his love interest.
We're talking about Star Sapphire?
No. She's the daughter that he was interested in. The guy who is, I forget his name. Let me look it up.
Yeah, I'm not. I wish I could help you, but I don't know.
Yeah. Let me see. And I just read this comic book the other day. I swear, my brain is Simon Stagg.
Okay,
that's the guy. So he was in a romantic relationship, even in Justice League, with Sapphire Stagg, the daughter. And so Simon Stagg gave him an ingestible. I think it was a ring. Like if he felt his life was ever coming to an immediate like end, ingest this and it's going to save your life. So he was sealed in there with the meteor or the comet, and then he ingested whatever was in the ring. And so those two things combined turned him into Metamorpho in the comic books.
Interesting. Yeah, that's completely different, I think, than what happened in Justice League.
Yeah, so in the Justice League, he was turned into Metamorpho by Simon Stagg in Simon Stagg's laboratory, or like something that he put together. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh god, you know what? I almost got characters confused because I was like, wait, didn't he possess Batman and make him shoot a gun? But no, that was Deadman.
That was Deadman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I still remember Metamorpho, but I don't know why Deadman popped into my brain just now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is interesting. I would say the actor who plays Metamorpho, like his normal complexion kind of is pale like Deadman's face.
Okay.
So maybe that's what you're thinking, but
it's possible. But no, I think it's just that those were like those were episodes of Justice League where all of these other characters were getting introduced for the first time to like that particular audience, which I was a part of. So some of the scenes kind of get a little jumbled around in the brain when you haven't watched those for a while.
You know what my least favorite part of this Superman trailer was?
Oh, what's that?
It is the character in the pins, if you go by what we've seen in the trailer with the color, or the toy. Whoever, the guy in the black or purplish suit that they're calling Ultraman.
Yeah, I saw what you were talking about on X today about that, and I was just like, oh, this looks silly. Like, what is going on with this? I'm trying to see if I can find the quick image of him.
Because he honestly does look more like Parasite than...
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I would have made that connection as well. Like, oh, Parasite's in the movie. But it's not.
I can understand, like, so Ultraman involves Earth 3 and the Crime Syndicate, right?
Yeah.
So I can understand you not wanting to introduce the multiverse in your first film. But if you don't want to do Ultraman, which is exactly Superman, just with a U on his chest instead of an S, then just do Parasite. Like, don't call him Ultraman. What's going on here?
Yeah, like, is he stuck in this reality or something? Is he part of the Authority? Which I know less about the Authority than I do about
Same.
Than the crime syndicate. Yeah, I don't know. Oh my god, this is a funny pause screen right here. Like, this doesn't have that much to do with what we're talking about, but I was scrolling through the Superman trailer. I'm just like, whoa, look at that face right there.
You know what? Like, I've seen people say that this was out of context for Clark, but I disagree.
No, he's trying to say that, look, I can help save people, but Lois is looking at it from ironically enough, kind of a higher perspective, and that, you know, you were born, well, you weren't born, you were raised in America. Yeah. You are an American citizen, like, even as Superman, like you're trying, like, this is kind of where you're based. So when you do this, your actions reflect America, whether you like it or not. So,
and I really like Rachel Brosnahan so far as Lois, from what I've seen.
She definitely looks more like the character than
Amy Adams.
Amy Adams.
Yeah.
And that, again, that is another thing I did not like about the Snyderverse. That character did not come across as Lois Lane to me. It's just like Amy Adams playing herself, saying dramatic lines.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite Lois is still right now. It's still Erica Durance.
Yeah,
from Smallville.
Same. Yeah,
Rachel Brosnahan. I mean, she looks like Lois. She's acting like Lois, so she could be right up there.
She could be. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how she does. All right, well, that was that. I was just like, I was sort of like looking through the trailer to see if I could find where Ultraman is. And then I saw that funny face on Clark, and I was just like, whoa. But again, that's kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, that devolved from a chat between a professional reporter and Superman to a couple having a dispute. But they just happen to be Superman, Clark Kent and Lois Lane.
Sure.
I also like that Lois already knows who he is. So, we're not going through the will they, won't they kind of thing.
Well, in this instance, he's been Superman for a while now. So it makes sense that Lois, it makes more sense in this instance that she knows who he is than it did in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Only because in Man of Steel, he walked around without any disguise. So
yeah, and that was, also like an origin story as well. I'm trying to find what Mad said about the girl taking the selfie, because I remember that shot. Yeah. I can't find it in the trailer.
Apparently that is supposed to be, from what I read, it's supposed to be Miss Tessmacher.
Really?
I guess. I know she's in the movie, but the last time I saw a photo of the actress, she had dark hair, I think. So
yeah, I'm trying to find it, and I can't. Like, if anyone else wants to find it and point out the timestamp for the trailer, go ahead, because like I am failing right now.
Let me see.
I can't find it. Hey, Mr. Proto, welcome. He says, I miss the will they, won't they. That was the status quo for 50 years. I know, but it's like we've seen it in the movies a lot. Like, and Superman does not get that many movies. Not nearly as many as Batman does.
And that's a crime. Yeah. I hate that.
So, we had, sorry, go ahead, Sean.
Oh, I was just gonna, if I can get to the shot here. Let me share my screen really quick. I really like this shot. If the computer will.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mads. I tried to find it, but I couldn't. I failed. Oh yeah, this is a great shot too. Yeah.
But yeah, let me keep scrolling through and see if I can find it.
I also like it. I just wanted to say I also liked in the trailer that Superman tried to direct the action away from the city. So he had to obviously fight the kaiju in the city, but then the other one, he's like, hey, eyes up here, and then he flies up and away. And it's just like, I love that. That is so anti Man of Steel, where it's just like, oh well, that truck exploded. Who cares?
Yeah. Another thing that I'm not really big on is the hammer of Baravia. Or however it's that metal suit that he's fighting.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was like,
which is an original character that James Gunn created for this movie. And the last time I remember seeing an original character created for a Superman movie was Nuclear Man, and we know how that worked.
Yeah, I have it right here. Like that's the one scene that I keep finding as I scroll through the trailer. This right here.
Yeah. For some reason, it's not coming up as I scroll. That is weird.
Yeah, it's a minute and 9 seconds into the trailer.
Yeah. So that, unless it is, I mean, it could be something like endowed with like magical powers, and that could be, why he's maybe having problems fighting him.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be Lex got a piece of his DNA and made that. I don't know. He does blast heat vision.
Yeah. So yeah. We'll just have to see. Hold on, there's a few other chats that we haven't gotten to yet. Death Angel says, my intro to DC was Batman and Robin in reruns.
Oh, okay. The TV show. Okay. I was hoping you weren't going to say the movie.
Yeah, I was going to say the movie. Ooh. Justice League, the cartoon, Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, and Superman, the movie.
Yep.
My introduction to DC was the Max Fleischer Superman cartoons from the 1940s.
Nice.
And yeah, I saw them like on, I think it was either TNT or TBS or something at the time. And they showed that. I was like, wow, this is great. And then I saw the Christopher Reeve movies. I think I saw the Supergirl movie, but not all of it. I've only seen that in like bits and pieces. And it's been years since I've seen the entire. I mean, I've seen it at all, I should say.
That was a bad movie.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Matt says Ultraman is behind him when Superman is arrested.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I found it. Hold on. I was just on there. There we go. Found it. Okay. There it is.
Okay. And I found the girl taking a selfie too.
Okay, well then let me take that down.
We can talk about this really quick.
Okay, sure.
Since you already have it up.
He looks like he's in a GIMP suit.
Yeah. So we saw in the trailer that I guess this is Ultraman.
Yeah.
But we saw in the trailer that I guess Ultraman puts his Superman's face into the concrete and cracks the concrete, right?
Yeah.
So, I hate that is going to be Ultraman. Oh.
Yeah, that. I mean, you didn't even have to make him like look like Superman if they wanted to avoid any kind of like confusion, like, hey, why are there two Supermen on screen? But I really don't think this was a good choice, I have to say.
I don't either. I mean, so you remember the scene in the trailer where he's in bed, like sick, looks like he's sick in bed?
Yeah, I think that was like toward the end. Yeah, it's right there.
Well, that's no. This is where like he's sick in bed with like Mom, Pa, Kent, and Lois is there.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm trying to scroll through. Is it toward the end or?
I don't remember. It's
but that looks like an attack in the fortress. Sorry, go ahead.
But so it looks like something maybe sucked his power, and that's why it would make more sense for this character to be like a Parasite. But because you see them struggling in the stadium, so that would be a perfect example for him to start sucking some of his power away.
And it kind of also would explain the scene where he like burst at like this, right? No, not that one. Just right before here, where he's breaking out of this glass cell. It's like he would have to be depowered and like not able to escape in order to be put into a situation like that. So
there's another scene though where he's in the cell with Metamorpho, and it looks like Metamorpho turned his hand into kryptonite. Which, if you go by the comic books, Metamorpho can only do something that is native to Earth unless it is altered and like introduced to him somehow. So maybe Lex somehow introduced him to kryptonite, and I don't know, but yeah. But this was an interesting scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have the. Let me pull this up really quick.
Okay, I'll take this down so you can bring that up.
So this is the scene that Mads was talking about, right there.
Yeah, that. Okay.
So you see them fighting in the background there.
Yeah, I do.
So there's that looks like the Hammer Baravia. I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think from what I have read on X, this is supposed to be Eve Tessmacher. So
interesting. It almost looks like that's supposed to be maybe the Daily Planet, but I mean that was my assumption. So I was like, why would she be working in the Daily Planet? But that could be a different building altogether. Could be the LexCorp building for all we know.
When I first saw this, I thought it was Cat Grant.
Yeah. That's another good point.
Yeah.
But that is supposed to be Miss Tessmacher, Eve Tessmacher.
Okay. That's a stupid thing to be doing. Like, you see them fighting out the window. They could come your direction at any time. You should probably be running.
I mean, as much as I hate to say it, with as stupid as influencers are on our Earth, doing really dangerous things just for clout and attention, it honestly wouldn't surprise me to see someone essentially taking a picture in front of a train that's about to, smash you over and just run you over.
Right.
So
yeah. So yeah, overall, I think this was a really good trailer, but there are some issues that I seem to be having with it.
Yeah,
but no movie is perfect, right? I mean,
no. Very few movies are. But the impression that I come away from it is that I think this is a better foundation for what is trying to be a cinematic universe than Man of Steel was.
I agree. And also, like, love or hate the Snyderverse, the movies didn't really make money. Like,
no,
I mean, they made money. Well, Man of Steel made money, but Batman versus Superman, like, it didn't hit $1 billion. And how are you going to do a movie like with Batman versus Superman with, like, for the first time and not hit $1 billion? And the thing with that movie is, people, like, the word of mouth got out there, like, this is a bad movie. So
yeah, and before that, the two previous Batman movies, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, they both hit $1 billion. So
right.
You bring in Batman into into a situation where he has a fight with Superman for the first time on screen, and it doesn't. So so obviously there was the audience. They didn't exactly reject it, but they didn't fully embrace it either, like they did, say, the Avengers.
Yeah, although I will say, so the theatrical version of Justice League, not so much, but the 4-hour Snyder cut. So I had to watch it a second time, this, I think December or somewhere around there. The first time I didn't like it, but this time I think I understood what he was trying to do, and I really, really liked it. That's probably my favorite thing out of all of the DCEU.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like it.
Wait. Nope. I'm sorry. Wonder Woman is my favorite thing. That would be my second favorite thing.
Second, I still haven't watched Wonder Woman, and I was going to.
What?
But now that the DCEU is dead, I
don't
know. I've never had the inclination to go and watch it. And it's funny because my older brother hated Wonder Woman and he liked Captain Marvel.
Really?
And I'm just like, okay, that's an interesting take. But yeah, it's just I've never had the inclination to go back and watch Wonder Woman, even though I've heard it's a good movie.
It is. It's not my favorite interpretation of Diana, but I mean, for what they were working with, and at that point in time, they were really trying to make money because the universe, like Suicide Squad, made money. But I mean, most of the films after Justice League tanked.
Yeah.
So Wonder Woman was like the first ray of sunshine that universe had.
Yeah, like I think critically and like audience wise, that was the first movie in the DCEU to actually like be fully embraced, not with any caveats or asterisks or anything, or like you got to go and watch the extended 3-hour director's cut. It's just like, no, people came out of that and it's just like that was a good experience.
Yeah,
and
it was brighter. So the thing with Snyder, like all of his films, they are that muted looking tone, and I don't like that for DC. That's just his personal style, and it works for his films.
For some, like for 300, it made sense. That was essentially a war movie with like swords and sandals. What other stuff has Snyder done?
He did Sucker Punch,
which I actually did like, although I think now I have to go back and watch it again just to see, like, do I still like it the same way I did when I first saw it?
He did that zombie movie, I think.
Right. Yeah. I think I saw that, or I saw the first part. No, I saw
Dawn of the Dead, I think it was. Yeah.
And
that was James Gunn's script, by the way.
That would make a lot of sense considering some of the things that I saw, but
so let me ask you, would you be open to Zack Snyder coming into the DCU and directing a film somewhere down the line? Providing that like it's a decent script and maybe he doesn't use so much of his muted tones.
Yeah, like someone comes in and be like, no muted tones, and for God's sakes, turn down the slow-mo. Like, just if you want, you could have 2 slow-mo scenes minimum. Or maximum, I should say. 2 slow-mo scenes in the entire movie. You can do that.
Oh, really quick. Mads, I was talking about David Ayer's Suicide Squad, not James Gunn's, the Suicide Squad that came out during the pandemic. Suicide Squad with Will Smith's character, it actually made money.
Yeah, that actually, and then, people have been fighting over like the various like cuts of the movie and all of that. Yeah. I saw the Suicide Squad and I did not like it. I did like the battle at the end against Starro, but other than that, I didn't like it.
Yeah, well, so when I say they didn't make money, I am referring to basically in the eyes of Warner Brothers. They didn't make as much money as Warner Brothers wanted the DC Extended Universe to make.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have kept having the changes in regimes of people who were, responsible for these movies coming out.
Yeah, and I will say that Warner Brothers was overly reactionary. Like they should have let his vision, or at least his 3 films, go without any type of major interruption. But
he wasn't going to make Batman v Superman, and I'll give Snyder that. He wanted to do a Man of Steel 2. And maybe he could have done, something more with that I would have agreed with, but Warner Brothers interfered, and they saw that Man of Steel didn't hit $1 billion, so they're like, okay, no, you have to do Batman v Superman as your next movie, and so we get all of these things. Like the movie is it's too much. it's too much, and yet it's too little in what it offers. And then after that so I guess depending on who you ask, either he got booted off of Justice League halfway through or like 80% through, and then they bring in Joss Whedon, or he left the project because of the unfortunate passing of his daughter. But either way, he didn't get to finish what he wanted to do, and Warner Brothers was, as he said, very reactionary. So I will give Snyder at least some credit in those regards, in that he was forced into doing that, like Sam Raimi was forced into adding Venom to his Spider-Man 3 script, and they had to change a bunch of things with that. And his Spider-Man 3 wasn't. It wasn't his Spider-Man 3. It was very much Sony's Spider-Man 3.
So Mad says the movies have been declining in profits post Snyder. So it's been a second since I looked this up. So let's just all take a refresher course together because I don't remember. But Man of Steel made 670 some odd million worldwide. Okay, I could be incorrect. I want to.
Yeah, let's just look this up. I mean, we're here. Let's look it up.
Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice made 874 million and some odd. So let's see, Justice League,
which sadly was a disappointment for Warner Brothers because, again, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises hit $1 billion both.
So the decline started right there.
Yeah,
Justice League made less than Man of Steel, Mads.
Yep,
that's where the decline started.
Yeah, that actually goes with what she said. The movies have been declining in profits post Snyder because his last movie was
Batman yes, Superman. But he still got sole director credit on this.
But Joss Whedon didn't?
No, because Snyder shot over 50% of the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true, yeah.
But I mean, sure, if you want to say this is post Snyder, we can go with that because there was a big shakeup and a big change, and that probably affected things. I'm sure that affected things.
I mean, you just compare like the scenes where like the movies are the same and the color palette is completely different. Joss Whedon brightened the movies up, which honestly I kind of give him credit for.
Sure.
But you look at Zack's Justice League, and again, the colors are dark and very muted, and that's what he intended. Whether I like it or not, that was his intention.
But I just like, in what type of world does a Justice League movie make less than Man of Steel? That just doesn't make sense to me.
Where you have one character versus all of these characters. Even Ezra Miller's Flash.
Oh man.
The less said about him, the better.
See, Suicide Squad made more. Suicide Squad made almost 750 million.
So it made more than Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it went up after that. That is weird.
Oh my! And you know what? That probably explains why Warner Brothers had such a hard-on for the Suicide Squad afterwards, and why we saw them in so many things.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, people see this offbeat, group of anti-heroes. They want more of them. So then, that affected Rocksteady's game development. Instead of doing another Batman Arkham, we get Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, but 9 years later.
That game was horrible. I played it for a little bit. Oh my god! So Wonder Woman made $823 some odd million.
Oh, so actually, yeah, that made more than. Did that make more than Batman v Superman?
It made. Let's see.
No, I think it made just a slightly less, like maybe $20 million.
It definitely made more than Justice League. Yeah, it made a little less.
A little less.
874 was BVS.
Yep.
So, but I mean,
that's like within striking distance. Very close.
823, like almost 824 million. At that point in the DCEU, that was actually really good.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they were trying to throw everything into Wonder Woman at that point in time.
Yeah. And then we got Wonder Woman 84 and
yeah. And then Shazam. I think you're right about Shazam. Blue Beetle, let's be honest, Blue Beetle was supposed to be an HBO Max movie and they should have never released it in the theater.
No, they
Black
shouldn't.
Adam. So this is my issue with the Snyder Bros, man. Black Adam was the opportunity for Henry Cavill to come back. Everybody knew that there was that cameo at the end, and Black Adam only made $400 and some odd million, if I can remember correctly. So that was the Snyder.
That was their moment.
That was their moment to support that universe, but nobody showed up. So
yeah,
and if that would have been me as the executive, and that movie made only $400 and some odd million, I'd have been like, yeah, we've got to pull the plug on this.
Yeah. And I actually heard that Pierce Brosnan, who played Dr. Fate, I heard he did really well in that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, Shazam made almost 368 million.
Yeah, that is a serious decline right there.
Although for a Shazam film, I mean, that
for a character that people don't know.
Yeah.
Would that be considered? Well, no, I was going to say, would that be comparable to Ant-Man? But I think even Ant-Man 1 probably did better than that.
That's
wow.
Okay, so Black Adam didn't even make 400 million. It was 393.
Wait, didn't Aquaman make $1 billion?
It did.
Yeah.
It did. So I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot about that.
Yeah, because it's just like it was the quality of the DCEU was just so up and down, over the course of its lifetime. So movie made even more than BVS in its theatrical run.
Yep.
So everything's not like Snyder wasn't there, so boo-hoo, everything was terrible.
It's actually this bad. Aquaman made the most money of anything in the DCEU, and that's Aquaman.
The hero that everybody made fun of.
Right. I mean, I grew up watching the Super Friends where he was ridiculous and talked to fish. It was that. Granted, it was the more hip, modern version. Well, not comic book accurate, but
no, not at all.
Everybody seemed to like Jason Momoa.
They did, yeah. But
he made $1 billion. Aquaman.
Yeah,
that's nuts to me.
More than people knew Wonder Woman and loved Wonder Woman. It was critically acclaimed, and then you get Aquaman, and it just blows everything else out of the water.
Although I think Jason Momoa is way better cast as Lobo in Supergirl.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's who he wanted to play. Sure. To begin with. And he's just like, all right, I'm going to go in. I'm going to audition for this DC stuff. I'm going to be Lobo. I like this character. And then it's just like, nah, you're going to be Aquaman. It's just like, what? He was confused by that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm glad to see that you and your friends went to go see Black Adam. And I'm sure that there were other Snyder supporters that did, but the majority of them didn't. I really liked Black Adam. I thought it was a good movie. And she says, I'm part of Cell. Yeah, you want to sell the Snyderverse to Netflix. I get that. And I just don't see how that would work, though. Then that's my problem with the Batman existing alongside the DCU.
Yeah, it's like what Midnight's Edge said. Warner Brothers doesn't want a competing Batman universe to go against what they're trying to set up with the new DC universe. So it wouldn't really be in their best interest to have a competing DC cinematic universe to go against the DC universe that they're trying to build up with James Gunn. Wonder Woman counts under Snyder. He fought for the No Man's Land scene.
I mean, he may have fought for that scene, but that's still Patty Jenkins.
Yeah. That's her direction on there, though. I think it's been said that he worked on the story for Wonder Woman.
I think he has some sort of credit. I'm not sure. Let me look it up again. Wonder Woman. I remember hearing that he had some sort of
credit. And I think that came out after Wonder Woman 84 tanked, because it's just like, how did we go from, Wonder Woman, which was a movie that people enjoyed, to Wonder Woman 84, where it's just like, what the heck happened there?
Wow. Wonder Woman had 6 writers, and it says Zack Snyder was a part of it. So if he was one of the writers, that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, it's still a Patty Jenkins film, though. But sure, we can give that to Snyder if you want.
But there's still the other point. Aquaman was the most successful DCEU film.
That's ridiculous.
That was James Wan, who he of course he worked with Snyder. He would have had to in order to make any sense out of all of, like, the Atlantis stuff. One thing that I'm glad that James Wan changed for Aquaman is that the characters could just talk underwater. They didn't have to create bubbles of oxygen just for people to have, dialogue. And I was just like, yeah, that makes sense. Even in the cartoons, the Atlanteans could talk to each other underwater. They may have added a sound effect, but I was just like, when I saw that in Justice League, how they all had to create the bubbles of oxygen just to have a dialogue scenes, I was like, what the hell is this? What am I watching?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so sad that Aquaman is the highest grossing film out of a DC universe. That just
it boggles the mind. It's like you have Superman, you have Batman, you have Wonder Woman. The Flash came out after the first Aquaman movie, and then it's so weird. So
the Flash though had been like in the works, like even before the Snyderverse. So I think, or either before or like right around the very beginning. That was a mangled film, and
it like directors and writers came and went. There were so many false starts and stops, and the final product, as much as it had great scenes in there with Michael Keaton and Sasha Calle. I don't know how to I don't know how to say her name. I liked her as Supergirl. She was a different Supergirl. She wasn't Kara Zor-El as I knew her, but
no, she was in a forget exactly what, but there was a in some sort of reality in the DC Comics, there was a daughter between Lois and Clark that she was, that costume that she wore in the movie, that was hers from this character's from the comic book.
Right. Yeah.
That's why in the very beginning I thought that was going to be Superman's daughter. But
yeah, it turned out completely different. And again, like I liked her scenes. It's a shame that she was kind of wasted in that movie.
Yeah.
And I think Warner Brothers was trying to like plan a DC universe around Supergirl, Batgirl, and
Wonder Woman.
Right. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's a bad idea.
A very bad idea.
That is a really bad idea. So I'm just, God.
Death Angel says, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Every time I hear Blue Beetle, I think of Harry Dresden. I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. Do you know who that is?
I think I've heard the name, but I don't know. Alpha Proto says, my man.
Yeah. Yeah, he was Dude Bro Aquaman.
Absolutely. Let's see. Death Angel says 2 words, Jason Momoa, better known to me as Ronan Dex.
Ronan from Stargate Atlantis.
Oh,
yes. Okay. I loved him as Ronan in Stargate Atlantis. He was he was a cool character, and the gun that he had, God, anytime someone got hit by that, it just sounded like their whole body shattered.
Alpha Proto says, I heard Patty got the script for Wonder Woman 84 and it was super bad. Yeah, I think Patty did write that script.
Yeah, she was the writer-director, and that just goes to show not all directors should be writers.
The movie was not good. I like the scene at the very end where she was able to fly finally.
Yeah.
Because I am part of the crowd that thinks Wonder Woman should fly.
She should. Like the whole thing with like the invisible jet, that is such a stupid concept. I don't like that. So her being a goddess, I think she should be able to fly. I don't mind that she rides horses and kind of like goes into battle like Xena Warrior Princess and all that. I think that's cool.
Me too.
But I think she should be able to fly and have, super strength similar to Superman. Maybe not to the same extent, but, she's a goddess. So why take that from her?
I agree. Alpha Proto says they overthought it, but without oxygen, how would the sound travel? Oh, you mean in Aquaman?
Yeah, like in Snyder's Justice League, where they did the air pockets so that they could talk.
Well, they did the air pockets even in Aquaman.
but not to the same extent. You know, the characters still had dialogue scenes underwater. Like I remember when I can't even remember his name, but Jason Momoa was captured underwater, and he was talking
Aquaman.
with Aquaman. I meant
Arthur
like
Curry.
his Arthur Curry. I couldn't remember his name, and he was having a chat with his brother Orn, I think.
Ocean Master.
Yeah. And they just spoke. Like there was no oxygen bubble or air pocket or anything. And
it's been a while. I don't remember any of that.
And I haven't even watched that movie from like start to finish. I've only seen it like in bits and pieces. But I remember that. I was like, oh, okay, they're talking to each other underwater. That makes sense.
Visually, it was very cool. Like
it was.
I mean, I think we could not have had an Aquaman movie before that. Like I remember in Smallville when they had Arthur show up, and there was an underwater scene with him and Clark. And
I remember that.
Yeah. It wasn't as nearly as good. Death Angel Shadow says sound travels through water very well. It actually does, because have you ever been in
sonar?
Yeah, but I mean in the swimming pool, like you make noise like underwater and you can hear it yourself. So
yeah, sound still travels through water. It might travel a little differently, but it's still there.
Mama Bear Doll says they've been trying to use the Flash to reboot the series to make it more Marvel.
Were you talking about the movie Flash? I mean, maybe that was their intention, but
if that was their intention for the movie, they failed. But
yeah,
I would like to see the I would like to see the extended cut with all of the scenes that were cut out.
Yeah.
Even if it's a mangled mess, I would still like to see it.
Yeah, just to see the difference between like what we remember from the theatrical version to this supposed director's cut. I think that'd be an interesting watch party.
Matt says Momoa was more like the animated Justice League cartoon Aquaman. Except for like the Yahoo
dude broisms.
Yeah. I mean, he had that fire to him, but the Aquaman in the Justice League was more savage, I think.
Yeah, he was more of a king. He was already like king of Atlantis right there, and he was essentially more like a Viking underwater. That's more,
Your camera's all blurry, Trap.
Oh, because I started moving around. I was going to stop my cam for a second anyway.
Yeah, the nod to the invisible jet. I mean, it was interesting. That scene with the fireworks and stuff like that, that was pretty cool. I actually like that, but I still think Wonder Woman should fly.
I agree.
Death Angel Shadow says fly. Well, when Linda Carter's Wonder Woman could jump and use her lasso. Yeah.
That's
I know.
All she needed.
But it was also a TV budget in like the late 70s and
I mean, that was around the same time that we had the Incredible Hulk TV series, and we had Lou Ferrigno, being painted green, which nothing wrong with. Like Lou Ferrigno was a beast.
Yeah. And Linda Carter is still my favorite Wonder Woman live action. I think she just looked like Wonder Woman.
Yeah, which is why, like we said on X, she should be Hippolyta.
Yeah,
in the movie whenever they get around to that.
I would love. I mean, I think she was in. Was it the end or like a scene in Wonder Woman 84, or was it the end of Wonder Woman? I don't remember, but it was just like a brief cameo.
I do not know, my friend.
It's been a second. Alpha Proto says you can't sell invisible jet toys if Wonder Woman can fly. Well, I mean, true. I guess you could have both. I don't remember if she flew in the Super Friends or not. It's been a second.
I thought she did. I know she flew in the Justice League cartoon. She could fly. And they also did use jets as well to like get around every now and then, but yeah, she could fly up too.
Yeah. Mad says it wasn't supposed to be Clooney. And the fact that Clooney was, I think from what I have heard, they really, really tried to get Christian Bale to try to.
Yeah.
to be that Batman. But man, yeah, Clooney, that was just stupid. Luckily, my screening of The Flash, it ended before that because it was a preview before the movie came out.
Okay, so that scene wasn't there?
No, it wasn't. So yeah, Clooney is probably my least favorite Batman of all time.
Because he's not Bruce Wayne. He's just playing George Clooney. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? It would have been better, I think, even I think when The Flash came out, I think Val Kilmer could not talk.
No.
But still, it would have been better if they would have just opened the door and showed Val Kilmer and not having dialogue.
He could have just walked out, been like, "What's up?" I mean, he wouldn't have to have said it, but just the body language, which I guess we kind of have to address that too now. With his unfortunate passing, there's going to be the Joel Schumacher cut now, I believe, of Batman Forever.
Yeah, that's screening this month sometime in Los Angeles.
Nice. And I hope HBO Max, which we have to talk about as well, will put that on their service, because I would watch that. I mean, I liked Batman Forever. It was the more family-friendly kind of Batman that Warner Brothers wanted all along. That families could go and watch and moms and dads wouldn't complain about, their kids seeing a darker movie. But obviously that was the start of, the more lighthearted, sort of Batman era that Schumacher became more connected with and more well known as, kind of more of a silly Batman.
But I think Batman Forever gets it gets lumped in with Batman and Robin, which I mean, I guess it should because it was a Joel Schumacher film, but Batman Forever is way superior.
And it is.
It's almost, I mean, it's not as good as Batman Returns, because that's still my favorite Batman, but for lightening it up, words, it wasn't bad. And I think Val Kilmer was pretty good.
No, and oh my God, I swear to God, every time we do live streams, I can't remember people's names. Sean, I'm very sorry to ask this. Who's the director of Batman 89 and Returns again?
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Tim Burton was an executive producer on Batman Forever. And you could see that because some of the actors reprised their same roles. Like Alfred and Gordon, their actors, were the same. Billy D. Williams somehow transformed into Tommy Lee Jones.
I don't know how that happened. He had a race swap.
It was a race swap in the other direction.
It was a reverse race swap.
That is the only time. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's legendary now that you think about it.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, because all race swaps are only now from white to black. It's never from black to white.
Right. When you're black originally in the movie, but you're white in the comic books, and then you're white again. So
I know. It's just, wow, Harvey Dent, he really was too.
He was. He really was.
I started laughing as I started saying the words.
It's messed up.
Oh, hey, that's the kind of people we are.
This is true.
Which, by the way, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just gonna say, Death Angel Shadow says, so her half brother Hermes supposedly gave Wonder Woman the ability to fly. At least that's one thing. Also, in 1958, supposedly she got the ability to glide on air currents in an 85 or 87 reboot.
I guess she could fly at that point, yeah.
And he says, Google rabbit hole.
That's what happens. It's either a Google rabbit hole or you start doom scrolling through Twitter or TikTok.
Mad says in Super Friends she had the jet. Yeah, I remember the jet in Super Friends, but I couldn't remember if she flew or not. I remember in one of the intros, like everybody was flying. Like
I was gonna bring that up. It's like, hey, everybody gets to fly.
Yeah, I was like, in what world does Aquaman fly? But okay. And yeah, Death Angel says she had the Jet and Super Friends too. Yep.
I was just gonna say, if you want to see Sean and me be even more unhinged and crazy, be sure to watch us play D&D tomorrow night.
Yep.
That'll be on my It's a Trap Plays channel, not It's a Trap Productions. Which, by the way, let me put the link to that in chat.
How many sessions have we had so far?
This is going to be session 5.
Okay.
Because last time was session 4.
So last time, Trap and I and Dexter went to the brothels.
Yeah, that's how we started out, and then later we went into another town, and then we split off from each other. You were trying to be all like Mission Impossible, like trying to sneak into a castle, but you got caught. Yeah. And then Dexter and I went shopping, and you somehow telepathically communicated with me like, "Hey, Trap, buy me this sword," which I couldn't afford because I didn't have enough gold.
Yep. That sword would have been awesome.
It would, yeah, and who knows, maybe we can come back and get that at some point. But yeah, okay, so it says I can't post comments in some sec. Well, I should. This is going to go to my YouTube and Twitch, so this should be fine. So.
Yeah, it should still pop up.
Subscribe to It's a Trap Plays.
Death Angel says you mean Dr. Ross? Yeah, from ER. Yeah, Clooney.
ER.
And that's where he should have stayed. He should have never ever been Batman.
No.
Alpha Pro says, from what I heard, the Schumacher cut is just a working print, not finished. Well, Kevin Smith showed it in a few years ago during the pandemic, and it was a VHS cut.
I'm so sorry, Sean. I noticed that my Twitch isn't showing chats. I got comments from one person, the Autumn Bunny, and another person, Random Dragon. I am so sorry, guys. I didn't see your comments. You guys probably left already. Oh God, I'm so sorry.
So that's a StreamYard thing.
That's a StreamYard thing. Oh God, I'm so sorry, guys.
Yeah, me too. That must be what it means by can't post comments to a certain destination.
Yeah. Curses. Okay, anyway, sorry. Go on and continue. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I was just saying that. So Kevin Smith showed it to some people, and I've not heard that it's just a working print. So, but I mean, the fact that they're releasing it in like a theatrical run, I mean, I don't know if they would just do that with the working print. That would be really bad. Death Angel says my mom liked it. Okay. Mad says, if I remember, it was supposed to be Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
I think as Batman showing up at the end of the Flash, because Jeffrey Dean Morgan was Thomas Wayne.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know that people wanted Jeffrey Dean Morgan to be Thomas Wayne in because in Flashpoint it's actually Thomas Wayne Batman.
Because the Flash movie is essentially a take on Flashpoint. Yeah. So people wanted, it was like, oh my God, we're gonna get Thomas Wayne Batman, and we didn't. So missed opportunity.
That would have been interesting if he would have shown up at the end.
Yeah.
Let's see. My first date was going with my future wife to see Batman Forever. That's cool.
That is. I wish I had a future wife.
Alpha Proto says, I don't care for Batman and Robin or Forever. I miss Burton's take even as a kid. Yeah, well, I understand that. Like I said, Batman Returns is still my favorite Batman.
I like aspects of Batman Returns. It also had a very great video game on the Super Nintendo, by the way. Like that was my favorite Batman game up until the Arkham games came out. But there's other aspects of it that I don't really care for. I'm not gonna go into all of it because I can't remember the entire movie right now. But I will say this: Michelle Pfeiffer is still Catwoman. Her performance hasn't been topped. I hope in the DC universe under James Gunn we get a new Catwoman at some point. Would be nice. But like I'm trying to think, like, what did I think it was just kind of like the sort of like bleak tone that the movie had. The movie is way darker, like tonally, than even Batman 89 is.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know why. I guess that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I just didn't like that too much. I think Batman 89 is just a better film, and I think that's carried immensely by Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Sure.
I mean, he's just a presence that honestly was not topped until we got The Dark Knight, and we had again, blanking on names. We had the other Joker,
Jared Leto.
No, not Jared Leto.
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good Joker. I liked Heath Ledger.
I did too.
Let's see. Alfredo says there have been other race swaps in the movie Spawn. Spawn's friend who married his wife after he died was black in the comics. They turned him white in the movie. Well, sure. But did he go from white to black, then back to white?
Did he have that journey, that cosmic journey? But at least they had what's his name, Michael Jai White, as Spawn. They kept, like, Spawn wasn't changed to be white in the movie, and for that being like the mid 90s, and how Hollywood kind of did things at the time, even in the 90s, that was a bold choice, and I'm glad that they stuck with that.
Yeah, me too. Matt says I'll be modding on 2 channels tomorrow. It happens a lot lately. Oh, with StreamYard? Sure.
Well, it's all right. I mean, maybe you can catch the VOD later on. We usually start at about we've been starting at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, so that's 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. So we do that, and then we usually go for about 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
So you might still have time to stop in later.
It's pretty cool. I've been enjoying it so far. Oh, and let's see. Alpha Proto says, yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan was cast with him being Thomas Wayne in hindsight, but that plan changed when selling the movie with Keaton took the spot. Yeah. But for me, like, seeing Keaton again was really, really cool.
It was.
The scene where he takes down that Kryptonian android or robot or whatever it is with all the bombs, and when he's like flipping and doing all of that stuff, that is probably the best interpretation of the way Batman moves on screen so far, cinematically. Like, the warehouse scene was cool, but I think that scene was way better.
I could see, yeah. I agree with that in a lot of ways, yeah.
Ancient Creation is here. Oh, I'm sorry, Ancient Creation. Ancient One.
He is an ancient creation of the cosmos.
Yep.
But thank you for being here, Ancient One. Appreciate it.
Death Angel Shadow says, I mod while working. Shh.
Don't worry, your secret is safe with us.
Welcome, Ancient One. I'm glad you're here. Alpha Proto says, I didn't like seeing Keaton Batman dying over and over. It made me sad. Yeah, that was. I had a bad feeling going into the movie that he was going to die.
I mean, we only had a few scenes in the trailers with Michael Keaton. Obviously he did that's right, Batman, and it's just like, he said the thing. But other than that, I pretty much kind of figured that he wasn't long for this world, especially when we saw that it was going to be the Kryptonian invasion from Man of Steel, but without Superman.
That was just a bad idea.
It could have. I know it would have cost maybe more money, but they should have just done the Atlantean Amazon War that was in Flashpoint. That would have been so much cooler. Could have had Amazons, riding on horseback on land. fighting against like more technologically advanced Atlanteans, and just get into like all those like fist fights. It would have been so great, and no one could have said like, "Oh, the Amazonians are a bunch of girl bosses." It's just like for that,
that's a stupid thing to say.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it would have made sense because the Amazons have super strength.
Mhm.
That they are very even if they're not as strong as Diana, they are still very strong, far stronger than regular people.
Yeah.
So, it would have made sense seeing like these badass warrior women on horseback, kicking butt, fighting against a technologically superior enemy in the Atlantic. It could have been so awesome. I would have even tolerated Ezra Miller a little more just to see that.
Well, so here's the thing about Ezra Miller. Like,
go ahead.
Is Ezra Miller is maybe like I've not seen movies with Ezra Miller, so I know he was in what were the prequels to Harry Potter?
Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, I know I know
he was in that.
Yeah.
What else was he in? I know he's in like some indie movies, but I never saw those.
But yeah, I've not seen really. I think The Flash was like one of my first things seen with.
Yeah,
with Ezra.
that was his breakout role.
But so, at no fault of Ezra, the character was just not written to be Barry Allen. That's not who Barry Allen is.
No, not at all.
I mean, especially in Justice League, like Barry Allen is not this weird recluse who doesn't have friends.
No.
That was my big issue with the Flash because I love the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
But man, yeah. So then you take that version of the Flash and you put it in a Flash standalone, well, not standalone, but a Flash solo movie. Well, supposedly solo movie. It just didn't work. So
no.
And then Death Angel's Shadow says, well, for Jason Sci-Fi, for me TV, if I'm co-hosting, I take a lunch break. Yep.
I love Jason. I love his show.
Me too.
There's stuff I still intend to do for Sci-Fi for me TV. But yeah, he's a great guy, and I'm so happy we were able to have him on our show.
Me too.
And I hope we can have him on again.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So what did you want to talk about? HBO Max rebranding.
We gotta address that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god, that is so silly. Are you on Discord? I'm on. Let me address this real quick. I am on Discord, but I don't have a Discord server. I had a Discord server. There's some stuff that happened over there, and I decided I don't want to host a Discord server anymore. So I'm just out and about in the world frolicking, and that's my story. I'm on other people's Discords like Sci-Fi for Me or World's Finest. But yeah, like my own server, no, I'll never do that again. Okay, so HBO Max. God, what a funny situation. So what was it? It was like 2022 or 2023 where HBO decided we're going to change the name of our streaming service from HBO Max to just Max.
Right.
Does anyone even know the reason why they decided to make that change?
I don't know. It was stupid though, because I remember thinking even back then, like you change it to Max, I immediately think of Cinemax. So
that's a good point. Yeah. My thing is just that if you just say, "Oh yeah, I'm watching the new movies on Max," it's like no one's gonna know what the heck you're talking about. It's like, what is Max?
Mm-hmm.
But you go to you put the HBO name on there, and all of a sudden it's just like you know what it is, and HBO was known for decades for having like high quality television and what came to be known as prestige TV. which started with Game of Thrones. Well, some people would probably say it started before that, but Game of Thrones is what kind of made that terminology more well known.
Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, if they're going to change their name again, they should have changed it to like something Warner Brothers.
Yeah. I agree. So I have their press release right here. Warner Brothers Discovery announces Max to become HBO Max this summer.
And you know what? Like all of the shorts, like the video shorts that they did for this, they were pretty good. With John Cena and James Gunn, like what? We're changing the name back. I mean, they did lean into the joke. So that's pretty cool.
But listen to what this says right here. Returning the HBO brand into HBO Max will further drive the service forward and amplify the uniqueness that subscribers can expect from the offering. It is a testament to Warner Bros. Discovery's willingness to keep boldly iterating its strategy and approach, leaning heavily on consumer data and insights to best position itself for success.
That's ridiculous.
So basically, people told them for 2 years, this is a stupid name change. Why did you do this? And so it's just like, maybe we should change it back to HBO Max. What I want to find is the press release for when they changed it from HBO Max to Max. And I want to see the reasoning behind that. I want to see if I can find that real quick.
That would be interesting because I don't remember reading anything about it. I just remember the change happening and thinking, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Let's see if I can find that. See. No, that's the one I just read. Max changes back. Max is changing its name back. Now this would have to go back to 2023, I think. Let's see. HBO Max changes to Max. Let me try typing in the year 2023. While the 2023 name change was preceded by a price hike, Max. Okay, so that was before. Come on, internet. We can do it. We can go back in time. Let's see. Warner Brothers Discovery confirms rebrand. No, that's the new one. Oh, no, wait. I think this is the old one because this is from 2023. Okay, April 12th. Oh, come on. No ads. Warner Brothers Discovery confirms rebrand of HBO Max to Max. This is it. Let's see. Was this the original press release? I think it was. Okay, I'm going to read this first pair. I'm going to bring up the window too. Hold on. Because I want you guys to see this too. Present, share screen. This is it. Warner Brothers Discovery confirms rebrand of HBO Max to Max. Launch date set. So this was April 12th, 2023. And let's see. Warner Brothers Discovery has confirmed its long-expected plan to jettison the HBO from HBO Max, announcing that its rebranded streaming service will be called Max. So stupid.
Yeah.
And this is what David Zaslav said. This is a real moment for us. This is our time. This is our chance. And everything is possible. I feel like for our company, this is our rendezvous with destiny.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. So he called 2022 a year of coming together, a year of restructuring, and now off we go all together to build Warner Bros. Discovery into the next century. Yeah, that lasted 2 years.
Wow.
And then let me see if I can go back here to the other press release. Yeah, here it is. And then look at that. Yeah, that rebranding of Destiny that lasted 2 years. Yeah.
That's pitiful.
So like just go outside of your ivory tower, talk to a normal person, and maybe you'll get some actual data. But no, they're just we're just gonna do what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it blew up in their faces.
Yeah, it did. And I mean, if the stories of Warner Brothers being really, really hard up for money is true,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm rebranding the streaming service, and then I would imagine that you'd have to go in and like change the watermarks on programming.
Mm-hmm.
That's
There's a
going to be
lot of stuff.
expensive.
You probably have to, I don't know, maybe change, like reissue some contracts as well, because some actors and directors and writers and all sorts of people probably signed contracts with Warner Brothers Discovery under the name Max.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Yeah, and now you probably have to do a lot of legal paperwork, just so that everything still coincides with each other.
Yeah, because I mean, maybe the contracts wouldn't necessarily be 100% binding.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And so maybe if an actor wanted to get out of a project, they can be like,
yeah,
I didn't sign
this. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, they could be like, I didn't sign a contract with HBO Max. I signed a contract with Max.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was going to say. Ancient One says, next thing you know, we hear strange and unusual reports of David Zaslav going completely feral. Ancient One, you write these feral jokes a lot, but I will humor you and finish reading this. He starts regretting his decision as people freak out as why this is happening.
I mean, I have heard recently that David Zaslav might be wanting out.
I've heard that too.
So, I mean, that's not completely off the mark.
That's true. And then you have to wonder, like, who would replace him, as the CEO of, would it still be Warner Brothers Discovery? Would it be like a completely different company? Would Discovery, divest itself of Warner Brothers?
Then who would buy that? Hopefully it wouldn't be AT&T that would repurchase that controlling interest.
No, I think they wanted out of the streaming business as well, and like owning all of those different assets that Warner Brothers controls, like DC, for instance.
Yeah.
There was so many parts of like, just DC, for instance, that loses money, like DC Comics, for instance.
Yeah, that is true.
They're not making money at all. The only way DC makes any money is through like its movies and its video game deals.
Mm.
Those projects, which mostly have to do with Batman.
And that's their biggest problem.
Yeah.
I think if they wouldn't have just ridden the Batman thing for over 30 years and invested money in other characters like Superman and Wonder Woman and even the Justice League, that since the 90s, if you would have been doing these things, DC would probably be in a different position right now cinematically.
Yeah, I agree. And I know, like, a lot of people they want to put Wonder Woman like sort of on the same pedestal as Superman and Batman, but she just, like, besides Cheetah, like, who is Wonder Woman's, who's in her rogues gallery? It's like Cheetah and Ares, and then after that, who is it?
I'm gonna look that up because offhand I don't know, but Cersei is like a big one.
So it's like you have to lean into like the Greek god stuff. So, essentially Wonder Woman kind of ends up becoming a bit like Kratos, which, people know more about the Greek gods through like God of War than necessarily like through Wonder Woman.
Wow, she has a bunch.
She actually has a big rogues gallery.
She does. So let's see. So I think it breaks it down here between the like Golden Age, Bronze Age, things like that. Yeah, so let's just go to the Silver Age because
okay.
So there is Professor Menace, Image Maker, the Human Fireworks, Mouse Man, Hera, Sarge Steel, Egg Foo, Paperman, Crimson Centipede, them with an exclamation mark, Morgana, Lu Shan. Then with the Bronze Age, Red Panzer, Osira, Armageddon, Baron Blitzkrieg, Kung, Inversion, the Inside Out Man,
Oof.
Astrache, the Empress of the Silver Snake, Hyperion, Captain Wonder, Adjudicator, Hecat, Aegeus, Tez Cat like Polka, Hades, and then they go post crisis with Decay, Cutis, something that looks similar to Enchilada, Mycos, Kronos, Yule, Kartska, Shimtar, White Magician, Cassandra, Cassie Arnold, Moot and Jeff. What the? Moot and okay. That was from 1993, by the way. So yeah, she has a lot more than ever.
Okay, so she has a rogues gallery, but like no one's really been doing anything with these characters.
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah, it's like anytime we see Wonder Woman, like the animated movie, for instance, I think that was mostly against Ares or Hades. I forget which one.
Ares.
Mm-hmm. And so they lean heavily into like Greek mythology with that. But
they do, and that makes sense.
It does, but it's just she apparently has all of these other villains, but no one, like you said, no one's really investing in like in other characters in DC, really, besides Batman. Batman's been getting essentially the limelight for the past 30 years, maybe more at this point.
But you know what's weird though? Like, so that list may have been a little bit sus because I don't remember seeing Cersei or Cheetah on that in any of those lists. So
oh wow. That's crazy. So
yeah.
Maybe they were just from like individual comics, you know,
possibly
with long runs. It's just here's the villain of the week, and then they don't do anything with them after that.
Yeah, so, yeah. I really like Wonder Woman as a character, but yeah, honestly, I don't know much about her rogues gallery.
No, and that's the fault of DC. That's the fault of Warner Brothers for not really investing in other characters besides Batman and sometimes Superman.
Yeah.
And so yeah, hopefully we'll get a little bit more if the new DC universe can get off the ground.
Yeah. We're gonna see for sure. And have you seen the projections for opening weekend?
For Superman? No.
Mm-hmm. I think they were saying somewhere between like 150 to 170 some odd million.
Oh, that's great. That's good. So people are excited about this.
Yeah.
You know,
we're just gonna have to see like if people show up, because I think enough people were turned off. Not necessarily if you weren't turned off by like the Snyder films, you were turned off by the obvious, like they don't know what they're doing and they're just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. So they were probably turned off at least by like these random films coming out that didn't really go anywhere. Like Shazam had a sequel, sure. Wonder Woman had a sequel, but Birds of Prey, that wasn't even Birds of Prey. That was
a Harley Quinn movie. with just the Birds of Prey just sort of like put in there. And they didn't even cast what's her name correctly. Her name is what, Dinah?
Dinah Drake?
Yeah.
Or Black Canary.
Black Canary.
No, not Dinah Drake. It was Dinah Lance.
Dinah Lance. Yeah. They didn't cast her right. And the actress who they cast for Black Canary, like, she's not a bad looking actress, but Black Canary's not black. I'm sorry. That's not the reason why that's part of her name.
I think that was her. So there was a different iteration. I think it may have been either New 52 or Rebirth, where she was like a rock singer. And I think she may have been black there. Oh. But yeah, the classic Black Canary, Laura Lance, she is white and blonde hair when she's Black Canary. Yeah. And so
yep. Let's see. Ancient One said, if only we had a legitimate video game version of the entire Dark Knight trilogy, one that not only follows the plot of said trilogy but also further expands it. Yeah, that could have been interesting.
I think the only thing that we got was Batman Begins.
Yeah, there was a Batman Begins game, and all of the actors came back to voice their characters. And there were some bits of the game that took creative license with what we saw on screen, and other things kind of expanded, like Bruce Wayne's training.
Yeah.
With the League of Shadows. But yeah, like if you kind of like took what was there in the Dark Knight trilogy and expanded on it using like what Rocksteady did with the Arkham series, like using that game engine and that style of gameplay, that could have been cool.
I remember really liking Batman Begins. I bought it for the GameCube back in the day.
Yeah, I think we had it on Xbox. That's where I played it, and it was decent. But yeah, like the Arkham games those are on a completely different level.
Yeah,
Tate said, and then he has something right after. He says, I think one of the names you listed was one of the cheetahs. There's been more than one. And then he said, never mind. I just looked at the list of cheetahs, and I don't think you read any of the names.
Yeah, well, nothing was like parentheses like cheetah or anything like that. So
yeah, I think.
Well, like I said, that list may have been sus.
Yeah. Ancient One says, might have to hire a different voice actor to play Joker if a video game version of the Dark Knight trilogy were to happen. Well,
sure.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen now. Where the Warner Brothers is full steam ahead on the new DCU. And we hope it's good.
We do.
And if not, we'll talk about it and see where it goes.
But Marvel, the MCU definitely needs competition.
The MCU needs to just lay low for a few years, not have any new movies, just let that train come to a halt for either 5 years or a decade and then start it up again. But it's not, they're going to keep on chugging until Avengers Doomsday. And I think that's really
Secret
good.
Wars.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, and Secret Wars. And then they're going to see, like, we'll all see, like, if people are still going to pay to see Marvel movies. And if not, then I think the MCU train will finally come to a halt.
I will probably go see Doomsday because it sounds like it's going to be this big, epic thing. But then again, you have to factor in like the past 5 years of the MCU overall.
Yeah.
So
I am not excited to see Fantastic Four. And that kills me because I love the Fantastic Four. They were among some of the first Marvel characters that I ever watched. It was like them. It was Spider-Man, the X-Men, of course. Well, it was X-Men before Spider-Man, but they were Hanna-Barbera Fantastic Four cartoon.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And I loved those. I loved Ben Grimm, the Thing, and it kills me to see like where they are now and seeing how the movie looks. It doesn't look exciting at all. And yeah, I don't have high hopes for this.
So yeah, I mean, we don't know how much Superman is going to make, but if I were to make a guess right now, I would think it's going to beat Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I'd say that. I think Fantastic Four, based off of just going off a current MCU uh, sales that we've had, I think it's going to be lucky if it hits 600 million. I would say it's probably going to be closer to 500 million for Fantastic Four.
Yeah, because so Captain America, Brave New World failed, and the Thunderbolts failed financially.
Financially, yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, I think Fantastic Four, as it sounds, along with what we know of ticket pre-sales, I think 500 million is maybe a safe bet, and 600 million if they get lucky.
Yeah, because Captain America didn't even make it into the 500 millions.
I think it was like 430, 420 something million.
And you know that movie was a higher budget than Disney's reporting as many times as they reshot it.
Oh yeah, they can say, oh yeah, it was only $180 million. Sure.
It was probably like 300 or 400 million.
Yeah, just like how The Force Awakens was only like $120 million. It was 500.
Yeah,
it was $500 million for The Force Awakens, and no doubt the other movies too, because they reshot Rise of Skywalker so many times. So yeah, when it comes to the Marvel movie budgets and all the reshoots that they do, yeah, I never believe the reported budget.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Let's see. An Ancient One says, let's see. The more and more I keep thinking about it in the case of the state of the MCU after Avengers Endgame, what they really should have done after said film is this: start an MCU set of films for an MCU X-Men is exactly what they should have done. I agree with that. Have it so we have an X-Men MCU, an MCU X-Men Origins, then an MCU X-Men Children of the Atom, an MCU X-Men Apocalypse, an MCU X-Men Dark Phoenix trilogy, then an MCU X-Men Endgame involving Onslaught. That would be interesting. And then he says, yep, Thunderbolts failed from what I took notice.
Yeah, I don't think it quite made it. Well, let's just look, because I don't know how much Thunderbolts did. So it's like Thunderbolts gross earnings.
Still in theaters, I think. Maybe not.
It's made 272 million globally as of
wow. That's less than I thought.
I thought it was like in the 400 mark by this. It's done even worse than Captain America.
Oh my god.
That is a colossal failure. And I know that term gets thrown around so much that it loses meaning, but
oh man. That's horrible. I did not know that.
Again, Marvel, like the MCU needs to stop. It, like after Avengers Secret Wars, which I know they're going to pull out like Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. They're going to bring, like Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. We've heard rumors they're going to bring in Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. Maybe Andrew Garfield. I don't know. We know they're going to do stuff like that to try and drum up interest so people will go back and see these movies. But after that, like they really just need to let the MCU just stop for a few years. Just let people miss it.
So Thunderbolts, I think, probably had a budget of like 180 or like 200 million, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So this is like way far from making a profit. It's not going to make a profit.
No, it's going to lose money. It's going to lose badly.
I did not know that it was not. That is a horrible box office.
Like I had no interest in seeing this movie, even though I like Bucky Barnes. I like the character of the Winter Soldier, but not what's been done with him ever since Endgame. But I wouldn't go see a movie just for him and him alone. So
me neither. And the asterisk New Avengers thing was just stupid.
That was desperation. It's like, oh, it's actually an Avengers film, so you guys should go and see this. Oh my god!
I mean, I support the fact that the film had something to do with mental health.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good because everybody has some sort of a mental health issue, I think. And then, but I mean, the fact that from what I've heard, the movie basically like they win by having like a group hug or something like that. I mean,
and this kind of goes back to something that I heard one of the writers say for something like I heard it was one of the MCU shows on Disney Plus, and this lady says, "Can't trauma be the enemy?" And I'm just like, no, that I'm sorry. These are projects that are supported mainly by men, and men want to see action. They look. You can have even in a war movie, like you can have like a group of guys suffering from the trauma of war, and like one guy starts breaking down, another soldier comes and like hugs him, and like tries to give him some comfort. That's fine, but that can't be the whole movie.
Yeah, trauma can absolutely play a part, but it can't be like the big bad.
No. And I think that's what they tried to do with Thunderbolts. And as we see, it didn't work. That does not work.
That is horrible. Oh, yeah. Death Angel Shadow says Full Metal Jacket. Yep.
That's been in like lots of war movies where like dudes just break down, like they can't handle what they're seeing, and one of their buddies just tries to give them a little bit of comfort before they have to go back out and possibly get killed. So but yeah, that's not why men and these superhero projects, these sci-fi projects, all of this stuff, that's not why we go to see these things.
No, we go to see comic book characters like, specifically for Marvel and DC, we go to see superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like fighting trauma is just not very superhero-esque to me.
No. Again, we said it can be part of the story, but it can't be the main villain.
Right.
So Ancient One says, according to the numbers, Thunderbolts only managed to make $138,891,643 as we speak, and they spent a budget of $180 million. So that's the reported budget. That's what Disney put out there, but never believe that.
We know Disney lies now.
Yeah.
So
never believe the reported budget. Ancient One says, what did that? Okay, considering the messed up circumstances with Marvel, Thunderbolts isn't going to break even. No. That's what we just No,
absolutely not.
It's gonna lose money. So,
and I wonder, like, how many films can they afford to massively lose money like they've been doing?
Yeah, just loss after loss after loss. It's just like something has to give after a while. You can't keep going like this, just losing money all the time.
No.
Something's going to break.
That's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Man, we've been going for 2 hours.
200 hours.
18 minutes.
Show. No, but it's always been a fun time chatting. Oh, actually, before we go, there's something I want to show the chat. Now, normally we start these shows off by asking, what have we been reading? Well, I didn't get to read much, so instead, this is more about what have I been buying? How has Trap been spending his money? So let me go to solo layout for just a second. So the other day, I joked with some friends online that, hey, I got a Ken doll. And they're like, Trap, are you buying Barbie dolls? And no, I am not buying Barbie dolls. I'm buying Street Fighter toys.
Nice.
So this is Violent Ken. So Ken from Barbie finally decided he was Kenough, and he had Kenough.
That's awesome.
So hold on, this is just the front cover. The actual toy is behind this. So this is what it looks like. So Ken, in this version of the character, has succumbed to the evil energies, the Satsui no Hado, and his energy is a different color. He's got different faces for being angry and all of that. And there's like even toy barrels in here. So this is like a take on Ken's stage from San Francisco and Street Fighter. So
who's the manufacturer on that?
So it's a company called Jada Toys, I believe. Somewhere here on the back. Yeah, Jada Toys, Jada Toys. And
I was only asking because it looks a lot like this figure I have of Adam. Prince Adam.
Hold on. Let me put you on solo mode so people can see what you have. Let me come off of solo mode. Oh, I left. I'm sorry. I'm back. Okay. Now you're on solo mode. Go for it.
Oh man, it's gonna.
He's too white.
He's too white. Let me see if I can.
Gotta dim them lights a little bit.
So, like, you can't really see too well, but like you see the hair is kind of lopsided on both sides, like that is, and like his chest sculpt looks very similar, and the fact that he's wearing a vest.
Isn't oh my god, who makes the He-Man toys again?
Oh, so traditionally it's Mattel.
Mattel, yeah.
Let me see, who is the manufacturer of? I don't know. So this is the Masters of the Universe Filmation cartoon.
Yeah.
So, whoop, that is the wrong button. Let me look it up.
Okay. While you're looking it up, I want to also show some other toys that I have. So I have regular Ken.
We got to put you back on solo.
Solo mode. Well, I mean, people can still see me. They can see you too. Okay. So this is a regular Ken, also from Ultra Street Fighter 2, which came out on the Nintendo Switch. I wonder if they'll port that over to the Switch too. I guess we'll see. And this is a reproduction of the character Akuma, who is an evil guy in Street Fighter. So this is based off of Street Fighter 4, which came out in like 2008. So like I said, this is like a repro. This comes from China. I forget who the original manufacturer of the toy was. But the reason why I have these is, well, I'm working on a project involving using my toys as my stand-in actors. So Ken is part of that. So
cool. So okay, so I looked it up, and apparently it is Mattel that is producing these toys.
Yeah, because they own He-Man. So
yeah, but I mean, there have been through like the 2000s, they've been made by a few different companies. Mattel,
right?
I've got a few here. So I've got this He-Man, and let me turn off my light again. Whoop, that is the wrong button. Dang it. Buttons. So
hit the button.
This is the cartoon collection He-Man. So when I was a kid, he didn't have anything on the back for his sword. So in this one, he does. And
a little scabbard, yeah.
Yep. And then I've got She-Ra.
Nice.
And then I've got Cringer, which is Battle Cat before he transforms into Battle Cat. But,
okay.
Yeah, I won't show him because all my figures are gonna fall.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that is a good, I'll show one more thing. I think I've shown these before, but I have this collection here of Poison Ivy, Livewire, and Supergirl. And recently, I think I showed this before too. Oop, don't fall. I got John Stewart, Green Lantern.
Yep, that's cool. Is that what is that, a 12-inch figure?
I think it's a 7-inch figure.
7-inch?
Yeah, I think these toys here are like 5.5 or just 5 even, and then
they look like they're going to be in scale with like the original Justice League and Unlimited.
Yeah,
figures.
I mean, obviously, John Stewart's a big, tall guy, and all of these ladies are shorter.
What are you trying to say about them being female?
Well, Supergirl could absolutely beat up John Stewart here if he didn't have his ring. So, but yeah, so I've been collecting toys like that, and I wanted to get this really awesome looking King Ghidorah from the MonsterVerse, the Godzilla franchise. But yeah, I need to show a little restraint. Oh, and then here's Mr. Cow, who I do,
of course,
moose with on stream. That's something you can redeem, by the way, on Twitch.
So, do you keep most of your action figures in the box?
No, I just haven't unboxed these. If I tried to move my webcam, you would see how horrible my room really is. But I have a lot of toys just like right up here on my bookshelves, like on top. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna do it. No balls, right? Let's do this.
So how many Sonic related figures do you have?
Quite a few. Hold on. I'm going to turn off my camera for just a moment. The wire is wrapped around the monitor.
What happened to your other webcam?
I don't know, Sean. I know what you're doing. I know what you're trying to do. You will not manipulate me, good sir.
I'm not trying to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Death Angel Shadow says that's why I have a green screen behind me. Yep.
Yeah. No one wants to show how truly terrible their rooms are. Okay, this actually might work. Okay, just a sec. I don't always live in squalor, but when I do it in style. Okay. Let me turn my camera back on. Let's see what this will show. Okay, yeah. So that's actually a really good shot of like a lot of my other toys right there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So like over here, there's Mecha Godzilla, there's Dr. Robotnik's Death Egg Robot, you got Dr. Eggman down there, a little Silver the Hedgehog, Mario, Rouge the Bat, 90s TMNT, doing a trust fall with Cyclops, the angry video game nerd. And then as we go over here, there's like Wolverine, the Flash. There's some more Batman and Superman, another Poison Ivy. Spider-Man is hanging out with the ladies, Jean Grey, Wonder Woman, Rogue. And then, of course, in front of them is Mario, Yoshi. Yep. There's a Silver Samurai. There's a Cyber Frog toy from Ethan Van Sciver. Black Cat is over there. There's Superman, there's Sonic right there, Master Chief, and 2 King Kongs.
Nice.
One is from the 1933 King Kong. The other one is from Kong Skull Island. So,
nerd.
You know what? You and another friend of mine called me that, and I am damn proud to be a nerd. A video game nerd, a comic book character loving nerd, a Ninja Turtle nerd, a Godzilla nerd. My Godzillas, my other ones are on the other side of the room, and that's where the real squalor is.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, that's cool though, because it's great to be a nerd.
It is. A lot of people, and even Hollywood, like Nerdrotic said, Hollywood hates nerds. So,
and yet we make them so much money.
We do. We show up time and again for all sorts of movies and projects, even when they're bad, even when they get all of the details horribly wrong. We still show up and we try and support.
And not only am I a nerd, I am a late Gen X nerd. So
that's you wear that Gen X label, you fly that flag proudly, and I respect that. I would say that, hey, it's cool to be a millennial, but right now, not really. Nope.
I'm a few years away from millennial. So like the sub genre that they have created that I am a part of is called Zennial.
Yeah.
But technically, I am Gen X. Because I
Yeah.
think Gen X ends in like the early 80s.
It's like 1984 or so. Yeah, there's like a little bit of overlap between, like you said, Gen X and millennials. And like, I'm just like in 1985, like I'm just kind of like right there. Like if I was born a year earlier, I would have been Gen X, but I was born in 1985, so I'm a millennial.
So you're barely a millennial. Okay.
Yeah, like I'm an elder millennial essentially.
Yeah.
We got some chats and I definitely want to show these. So Death Angel says, that's why I have a green screen. Yeah. My bunker is still very disorganized. Yeah, you only saw the top of my bookshelf. You didn't see all of the disorganization a shelf down.
Yeah.
I'm working on it though. If I can curb my flat surface syndrome. Flat surface syndrome? What's that?
I don't know.
Yeah, can you explain that one, Death Angels? Because I don't know what that is. And then that's right. Tate says, that's right. Wear that nerd badge with pride. I do. Like, look, I am wearing a Tails shirt. So, Tails debuted in Sonic 2 in 1992.
Earlier today, before I took a shower, I was wearing an X-Men shirt. So
I had this awesome X-Men shirt when I was a kid. It had Wolverine on there, even though he wasn't and still isn't my favorite X-Man. But I loved that shirt. I hope I can find a picture with that. Death Angel says, Uber nerd, sci-fi fantasy, IT guy, and ham radio operator, and yes, solid Gen Xer.
Yep.
There you go. And Tate says Gen X here. And okay, so he's explaining this. If I see an empty flat surface, I'm compelled to put stuff there.
Oh, got you.
Drives my wife nuts. Oh, no doubt.
Sure. I mean, I would like to have way more action figures than I do. But if I did, they would be all over the place.
Yeah, and like I have these two bookshelves together, and more stuff and video game stuff and movies and all that stuff. So yeah, it just they do take up space. My mom has said a few times, why don't you give these toys to like your young nephew who's like
how dare she?
I know, he's like 6, and like he wouldn't know who like let's just say for instance like he wouldn't know who Master Chief was because he'd be way too young for Halo.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the X-Men that I have on there, like the stuff that he knows is like Paw Patrol.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Yeah, that's what he grew up with. I think he's Gen Alpha, maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a young guy and he's great, but no, he wouldn't appreciate a lot of these. I did give him a Spider-Man plushie though, which he's right here. I bought the same plushie because I plan on using them in a future project.
Spider-Man is always a good character.
Oh yeah, he appeals to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like I may be one of the few people that actually have I created a list on my Amazon account just for toys. So
I've done that. I have a list of Star Wars toys that I want to buy. Oh yeah, I have a Mandalorian and a Darth Vader that I haven't unboxed. They're still in their boxes.
See, you're showing way more love than I would. I would never buy a Star Wars toy right now.
I would for like the toys and the characters that I love. Like, Disney has done a lot of damage to the Star Wars IP. That goes without saying. But, I love the universe that George Lucas created. He created that with the help of a lot of people, but that came from his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that so much. So, there's characters that he made. There were characters that were created for the expanded universe that that I would like to collect, like some of the characters from Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. They have toys, as well as Mara Jade. Mara Jade is a character that I still need to read about.
Me too.
And I haven't yet, and I feel bad about that. That I've been a Star Wars fan for so many years, and I didn't get into the expanded universe earlier.
Apparently, she has red hair, so that intrigues me.
Yeah, she is a ginger, so yeah. Let's see. Death Angel says she gets me back though. She eats snacks in bed and puts the empty paper plates and wrappers on my side. Oh,
nice.
That's
at least she doesn't put the crumbs on your side of the bed.
There's that. I saw something about Vader cursing. Oh yeah, Vader's in Fortnite. Disney invested like I think $200 or $300 million into Epic Games. So, yeah, they're doing a lot of Star Wars stuff right now, and yeah, I don't know why Vader would be cursing. So, Ancient One says also the fact that the current executives within the Walt Disney Company keep bringing up these bogus reports for the budgets they spend on a lot of these movies. Don't think that's something new is or something else is going on.
Yeah. So I remember a few years ago they were. I forget who it was, but it was somebody involved with the money side at Disney. Like she supposedly invested in some sort of Bitcoin or something.
Oh, yeah.
And then it like went belly up, and so she left shortly after it went belly up, and I remember all the rumors going around about that. So
yeah, I think that's something Doomcock reported on, as well as I don't know if Midnight's Edge reported on that necessarily. Maybe Clownfish TV did. But yeah, that's just one of those things that really makes you scratch your head, and it's just like, look, we know Disney has a lot of investors.
Right.
So like if they're trying to like, I don't know, funnel money into some other place and cook their books and say they actually have this where they don't really have it, it wouldn't surprise me. That's all I'm saying.
Same.
Yeah. And then Death Angel says, "Oh no, there's crumbs too. I call her Ernie sometimes." Sesame Street throwback. She's messy. I tend to things, or stack them on the aforementioned flat surfaces.
Yeah.
We have weird habits.
We do.
I need to fold my clothes.
My clothes are currently in a laundry bag right next to me. They're clean. I just haven't put them up.
Mine are behind me on the floor. I know, I'm so terrible about that. I really should just fold them up and put them in my closet back there.
But I mean, that's so much work. And
I know. I mean,
there's so many other fun things that you can do.
And I have a million thoughts. I want to do things, and then I don't do them, and then I just go to sleep, and then the problem is just there the next day.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess we could start wrapping up because I think we talked about what we wanted to talk about today.
Sure. I think so.
But before we go, I want to bring up. Well, I'll read Ancient One's comment, and then I'll bring up what I was going to bring up. One thing is for certain: the moment the Snow White 2025 live action remake film was released in theaters was the moment the Walt Disney Company truly crippled themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the latest report, they released Snow White. They re-released it in theaters, and it became the second flop, the film to flop in the box office twice in a row, with the first one being Morbius. Yeah, Sony got some bad data from like Twitter, and it's just like, no, the movie's not really that popular.
And the Spider-Verse without Spider-Man is just not good.
No, like the Venom movies, it became like like what we were talking about earlier, it was they made less money as time went on. Each movie made less than the one previous. So, at least they stopped at movie 3 before things just went completely, bad.
I stopped at the first one.
I didn't watch the first one, funny enough. I watched the second one. And the second one wasn't really that good.
From what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to find this video. I tried to find this yesterday too, and I just could not. Maybe it's on Twitter. Maybe that's why I couldn't find it. So it might not be on YouTube.
Oh, and I got my Windows PC back today. So
oh, sweet.
Yeah, so I'm going to install Steam on there, and we can all do Steam stuff again.
Yeah, I know you've been wanting to try to play Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Do something with that. So that sounds fun.
Yep.
Let me see here. I'm trying to find this so I can kind of segue into what we're going to be doing next week, which was supposed to be tonight's show.
Right.
Yeah.
But we failed so hard.
Yeah. We were supposed to do things and we didn't do them, and it just all kind of went bad.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We have a makeup date.
Yes, we do, thankfully. Yep, so still trying to find it. Let's see. This would have been back a little ways. Hopefully not too far back.
Like 3 years ago?
This would have been last year. So not too far in the past. No, it's not this one. Sorry, just give me a moment.
Sometimes it's hard to find videos on Twitter because of the way that it's categorized on your profile. Like you've got a tab for replies and a tab for the media. And
yeah, I was searching through media to try and find it, but I was unsuccessful. Basically, it was an animated video, like a little animated short that was made for Common America.
Oh,
and it had the Common America theme song.
Yeah,
it might be on their okay, so they have an official YouTube channel. So let me try just looking through that. It might be there.
I still want a Common America animated series.
I do too. They kind of teased it that they were trying to work towards an anime, like working with an anime studio to do that, because like the whole aesthetic of the book is like anime / manga style,
right?
So it's not like, it wouldn't look like Justice League, for instance.
Sure.
Oh, I think I found it. Let me see. Yes, this is it. Oh my God, I couldn't find this yesterday and I felt so stupid. Okay, I found this. I'm going to play this. Hopefully I won't get a copyright notice. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so this is going to play the Common America theme song. And this is the animation that was made, I believe, a year ago.
Soaring high through the house. Like stars, like the 4th of July. She's a fun bombshell, patriotic paladin, fighting fashionista, jet-powered javelin. No evil can touch her heart so true. She'll always bleed the red, white, and blue. Keep the faith, a champion of liberty. Embody truth and beauty. Take flight, Common America. Take flight, Common America. Bring down the velvet thunder, tear your foes asunder. Take flight, Common America. Make right, Common America. Loosen the lightning of swift sword. Let good men hear its thunder roar. When hope is lost and the skies are bleak, be the beacon that we all seek. With your coming core, you will be triumphantly crossing the shining sea, a light in pearl and a rocket's red glare. We'll fight for right where eagles dare. Roll call, coming comet, coming robin, coming victory, coming terror. Make right, coming America. Be like, coming America, coming America. Lift your spirits high. Keep your feet on the ground and your eyes in the sky.
I have that plushie.
Of course you do.
Hey, but it's so cute.
It is.
Still haven't taken it out of the plastic either.
Oh, cool. I really wanted one of the Common America action figures.
Yeah, I hope they make some more of those because it's great. I have one. I'm not gonna, show it and be like, ha, you don't have it. But my hope.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Trap.
I was just gonna say my hope is that they do one toy for like the entire Common Core, so you have one of each character.
Sure.
So, sorry, you were gonna say, do we?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna ask. Do we know anything about the production behind the song? Like, because those vocals sound very processed, either like AI or like strong auto tune.
I think it probably was auto-tuned. I think they did actually get a singer because they got a singer for another song that they made for Common America Volume 9. But that song's a bit slower tempo and pace and a bit more dramatic. So yeah, I don't think they employed the use of AI voices for that. Maybe it says so in the credits of this. Common America lyrics written by Timothy Lim. Okay, yeah, vocals by Nicole Carino. So
Okay.
yeah, there was a person behind that.
I was gonna say because I remember like we talked about this song like a year ago or so, I think, and yeah. So yeah, it makes sense that it probably was just auto tune because auto tune can really do that overly processed sound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of voice. Yeah, I get that. All right, let's look at some of these comments here, and then we'll start wrapping up. But yeah, we're gonna do a chat with the guys behind Common America. We're only going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about anything else in pop culture like what we did today. So, that's something that we talked about. And so yeah, it's going to be a strictly Common America Iconic Comics chat. So Sean and I need to buff up on our stuff on the comics and refamiliarize ourselves with that. So we'll be a bit more prepared.
Absolutely. And the first room we had with them was awesome. So
yeah, and one of the things that made it awesome is just we talked about a lot of things that we really enjoyed.
Yep.
So I think that the next week's chat will be fine as well. More than fine. It'll be a good time.
Sure. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so where did we... Okay, Death Angel said regarding the Snow White movie, that movie was cursed from the beginning with the fire and all of manner of things. Yeah.
As Terrence calls it, snow, not white.
Snow, yeah. I like the way that the chat AI song called it. They said, Mud Brown and the 7 Discord mods.
Wow, that's savage.
I will send you a link to that song.
Okay.
They did 4 parts to it. Like that was the first part. There's more. Ancient One says facts indeed, Death Angels, and Ancient One says that's awesome, Sean. Ancient One says, oh yeah, Baldur's Gate 3. And
yeah.
Sean, I sent you a PM on Discord. You should read it once you seize the chance to do so.
Cool.
And then this was in regards to the Common America trailer. The Jigglies. The jiggle is strong with this one. Hey, that's fan service done right.
Yeah.
And Alpha Proto, being a cheeky man here, says, I'm no common American. I hope you're proud of yourself.
You made us speechless for a moment.
Mm-hmm. Death Angel says, Synthy sound, and Ancient One says, understood, Trap. Yeah, so we're not going to bring up Star Wars or Disney or just anything else. It's just going to be about essentially the iconic comics characters, which it's not just Common America. There's another comic series called Black Hops. Oh my God, there's another one that was kind of involving like a priest and some exorcisms that's going on, which also crossed over into Common America. Crap, I forgot what it is, but I don't read it, so I don't remember the title of that one. And then there was another story which I think is a bit more sci-fi based. Maybe I can check that out before we have that chat next Friday.
Yeah, that would be right up your alley.
Yeah. The next show is also going to start a little later than when we usually start. So we agreed to start the show at 9 p.m. Central. So that's 7 p.m. Pacific and 10 Eastern.
Yep.
So it's going to be a later show, but I think it's still going to be a good one.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so that's pretty much that. So be on the lookout for that next Friday.
Looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, so I'm trying to see. So we have right now still 26 people watching. That's pretty cool.
Yep, and a lot of them are from X.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do X, because you get a lot of eyeballs. So
an Ancient One. Yeah, again, like I can't see chat sadly from Twitch, and I don't know why StreamYard is failing on that front, but they are. So thank you for being over there. Thank you anyone who watched on Twitch. I'm sorry I didn't see your chats, but I really appreciate you coming by and hanging out, and hopefully next time will be a little bit better.
And of course tomorrow,
yes,
is it 8:00 Central and 6 Pacific that we're going to do it?
I think,
or is it 7 Central and 5 Pacific?
Yeah, I think it's like 7. It's going to be 7:30 Central because it's like 5:30 p.m. my time.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to do D&D session 5. Let me bring up the thumbnail for that.
It's been a lot of fun so far.
Oh yeah, the Tri-Attack Zach has been our dungeon master, and he has done an absolutely fantastic job guiding us on this crazy quest.
And I think we're all D&D newbies, right?
Yeah, none of us have played D&D before. Only Zach has. So yeah, it's going to be on It's a Trap Plays, so not on It's a Trap Productions if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, you'll see it. It should be broadcast over there on my side, and I'll also be streaming on X as well as Kick, but I don't get any viewers on Kick, so. Oh, Ancient One says, I played D&D in the past. Yeah, I know, but we're talking about out of our group that we play with. So, let's see. Alpha Proto says, you better prepare a whole lot of good questions. Yeah, we're going to review the stories, the issues of Common America, and talk about that. The latest one is volume 10, which I need to read. So we will be prepared, and it'll just be kind of, like how we do these shows. We have topics we want to cover, but it's not like we got to hit this topic and then this question and then that one.
It's all pretty casual.
It's extreme. Yeah, very casual. Major oof trap. Streamlabs must be going nuts. Yeah. Death Angel says, I'll have to check some more of it out. Of it out. Always fun seeing D&D noobs, of course. Now I'm on the CNC bandwagon.
CNC Music Factory?
Is
That's a bad
CNC
joke.
Command and Conquer? I don't. I'm sorry, Sean. I wasn't on the same page as you were. I failed you.
It's my 90s pop culture. I can't help it.
Hey, 90s pop culture is good stuff. Mine more so is more about video games from that era, but yeah. Castles and Crusades. Okay.
Right.
I'm not familiar with that game, but I'm guessing it's another tabletop role-playing experience.
Yeah, I think Jason did a show. I think it was with one of the people behind that, and it's very D&D-ish from what I remember.
Oh yeah, Death Angel says last company Gary Gygax worked with before he sadly passed away.
Oh, maybe I'm misremembering then.
And then yes, he did. I co-hosted it.
Oh, okay.
Says, yeah, there's that. Everybody dance now.
CNC Music Factory.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Let's we'll go ahead and wrap things up. I need to have some food, so I'm gonna leave now. Well, no, we'll do the outro.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining, and be sure to tune into It's a Trap Plays tomorrow for our D&D. That's gonna be fun.
Yep, looking forward to it. It'll hopefully be about 4 or 5 hours of fun and adventure.
Yep. So until next week, guys, take care.
Bye.